And welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than a man in Brooklyn, one agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Coming at you from the borough of Kings. How you doing?
Representing BK to the fullest.
Just a kid from Brooklyn.
And with us tonight, the hardest working man in the business, friend of the show, special correspondent here for the reasons we will get into after I announce him. One, Matt Wayne 97.
Hey everybody. It's good to see you guys.
I was expecting a different one, but that was pretty good. So
Wang has always been from Money Making Manhattan.
Absolutely. So, folks, it is the week after San Diego Comic-Con, and of course, as we tend to do with cons such as this, we have Matt on to let us know about his impressions of the show, and regardless of stories of what he can tell us about, and such the like. But the first thing I have to ask Matt, before we get into all of that, how many copies of Namor did you buy?
It was
because we thought of you and we shouted you out.
Yep.
When Namor #1 came out, the Jason Aaron written series that came out recently.
Yep.
I was hanging out with some Marvel guys, and they were definitely talking it up. So, I don't usually pick up single issues of Marvel or DC. I like to support my local comic store. So, yes, I'm excited for that series, and I'm excited to get my copy.
Oh, so you haven't? So you haven't checked it out yet?
No, I haven't had a chance.
But you know who appears in the first issue, right?
I do know who.
Okay, there we go. That was the part we was gonna because we absolutely shouted you out when we went over that one that week, and I'm like, yeah, he probably bought up the store for this one. So, but that being said, and for those who don't know, Matt is a big Stingray fan. So yeah, it's every time we joke him about it.
Yeah.
What started off as a joke years ago has now become I guess I'm a Stingray super fan now. So I guess I get some traditions.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all yours. No one. I don't think anybody else wants that. So,
that's your corner. You can stand on it.
Yeah, you could have that all day, there, bro. But with that, like I said, we are going to get into some San Diego Comic-Con business, and I guess the as we started off with, how did you feel the show was this year?
Look, it was, I got there a little early this year. I got there Tuesday night, so that, and then stayed there a little longer. I left Saturday morning. I think the initial impressions were it was much more crowded than last year, right? So you had, last year you had the actor strike, so you didn't have anyone in Hall H. You had even like the built-in energy Wednesday when you start walking down 5th and into the convention towards the convention center. You felt like you feel the Comic-Con energy, right? Which is a little bit different from New York Comic-Con because San Diego just like takes over all of downtown. But there were, I'd say, just on the streets, a lot of people. Restaurants were packed at all times. The bars were packed at all times. I checked out some of the different hotels, that are connected to the center. The Hilton, the Marriott, the Omni, and just there are people everywhere. Look, they've learned over the years they do a better job of managing the crowds. and man, get your traffic. They don't have, and the car traffic and the foot traffic. But man, there were a lot of people this year. It was good. It was good, but lines were long. Like the Paramount experience, the line was, 3 blocks long. Any of the exclusives, when you did that initial rush, when you got to the floor, they were, already like when you got there, when the show opened, there were like 50, 100 people deep already. And I won't tell you all my tricks, but, sometimes I was able to get to the floor a little early, but I guess a lot of other people figured that out too. So even if you got, the doors open at 9:30, and if you got there like 9:15, like there's still like 30 people, 40 people ahead of you on the line,
right,
for an exclusive. So, and one thing that you guys, may remember from pre-COVID was there were a lot of lotteries, right? There's lotteries for Funko, Lego,
right,
things, and then Hasbro, which was always a big one, brought their lottery back. Because over the last couple of years, they've really just been passing out codes and then setting up pop-up shops in downtown San Diego for you to go buy merch. So you can order stuff on Hasbro Pulse, and you can go to the pop-up store. But they brought back the lines. So, and I have, I got one of the Orion packs, Megatron, Legacy United toys, and because I didn't win the lottery, but most of these exclusive lines, as most of after a certain time in the afternoon, they'll just let you walk off. They'll never leave the line empty.
Right.
So like that and like Peanuts, all of them, they had they let you on. The thing you run the risk of is a lot of stuff would sell out. So
Right.
I get Peanuts line at like 3, and it would be like you get like a small T-shirt left.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or, what was very popular this year, and one of my favorite brands, and I'm wearing one of their shirts, Super 7.
Mm.
I mean, I guess they exploded in popularity in the last year because like the floor on the floor, that line was long, was ridiculously long at all times, and then they have a physical location in San Diego, which is about like a 10-minute walk. Or
Right. That's like their home base, right? Like the San Diego, Southern California area. That's their home base, if I'm not mistaken.
So that store had the 50th anniversary D&D special merchandise. And I went. They opened on preview night, but I tried to go earlier, and they're only open for press. I finally got there a couple days later, and it was like, it was cleared out. This was like, it was. I mean, there were a couple of War Duke shirts left. If I wanted some extra small sweatshirt, I can get that. They had a bunch of like the hard merch, like cards and dice, but like all the clothing was gone, right? Like even the mannequins, right? And I asked, "Oh, when did you sell out? Like Thursday?" They were like, "No, preview night."
Jeez.
So
basically,
I did. I was able to pick up some. Oh yeah, eBay. Yeah.
I mean, Super 7. Just as a quick note, hold on to that thought because I don't want to interrupt for too long. I know that Super 7 has definitely picked up some prime licenses.
Yeah.
To
we
do
talk about
toys. We've talked about it during the shows, and I know that everything from like Godzilla to I guess that D&D stuff. I completely forgot about that, and that I'm not surprised. Super 7's done some good work. I'm actually surprised to see. I think I saw the Thunder Tank that they put together, which is like a crowdfunded thing on either Big Bad Toy Store or Amazon somewhere. I saw it, for sale because you can get it now. And I was just very surprised to see it. But anyways, go on.
No, I'm just saying they their reaction figures were beautiful.
Right.
Like, I don't really collect those, but I did get one thing because the guy in the cash register at the booth, he was the designer for the Grimlock figure, so I got one of those.
Oh, nice.
I made him sign the box.
Nice.
But yeah, look, overall, I think the other impressions were, Artist Alley continues to be not like the Artist Alley at New York Comic Con. Had a great time there. There were a couple artists I hit up. But one thing I heard was that they wouldn't tell me how much they're getting charged, but they said this is the first year they were getting charged at San Diego.
I mean, to have a table.
Yeah.
Huh.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I think the only other thing I can think of right now before we dive to some questions was the I was a little surprised at the size of the DC booth. Like I thought it'd be, the year before the Superman movie comes out. Like I thought it'd be bigger. Right. It was definitely just a smaller presence, and there were less like TV shows and TV entertainment pushing content. You saw more activations like SpongeBob, Viz, other companies, and people were doing like more comic signings and trying to sell books. Previous years it was very Hollywood, right? When the Arrowverse was big, it was like Arrowverse, Game of Thrones. There were all these like big signings on the floor, but there was a lot less of that and more like consumer activations, like people lining up for experiences, taking pictures with things, which I always think is cool.
Sure. So it's interesting that you brought up, you reminded me, and it shows you how bad my memory is sometimes, that last year the Actors and Writers Guild strikes affected San Diego Comic-Con. I completely forgot about that and how that would affect, like the consumer, the attendee experience at the con. So, this is a little bit more, like you said, a little bit more pre-pandemic-ish than it was even last year because of the effect of the strikes. I was wondering if, like a couple of quick questions. I was wondering if there was a continued like strong presence of like anime and manga on the floor, on like the showroom floor. And and I was about to say, you can answer that. Go ahead.
Oh yes, it was Viz. There's a small Tokyo Pop. Obviously putting Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z.
Shonen Jump or something. Yeah,
some Shonen Jump. Didn't see as much Crunchyroll stuff. A lot of Demon Slayer.
Okay, that's interesting.
So, I Toei Animation.
Right.
They have the Bandai. So there was a strong presence. It was a mix and match. It was a mix and match from last year. Like last year, I think there was last year or 2 years ago. There was a lot of Gundam. There was a little bit less Gundam this time, but there still was a lot out there.
Got it. Because we, like using New York as a comparison, we've both noticed that New York has like this increased presence. Part of it is because they took advantage of the pullback by some retailers and companies from the pandemic. They were able to take advantage of some of the prime space that was up front, like that. When I say up front, like the parts where people go in from when they enter the Javits Center. Anime, manga, all those companies decided to like really invest in those spaces, and that was like a big push for them in the wake of the pandemic. And it's just interesting to hear how that has translated over to the other cons, specifically San Diego. The other question I had was, did you see lots of, I guess, in terms of like the current genre stuff? Because there are a couple things coming out and that have come out during the summer, and I'm kind of surprised that you didn't see more booths about like the TV stuff, like House of the Dragon or even Rings of Power. Like, was there a presence for some of that stuff that like is still coming out for the summer?
Some of those activations were or a little bit or outside of the con, so which is a little bit. So the way it's set up. You're talking about the Javits, and there's, a lot of, activations and booths sort of like past the security gate and before you enter the exhibit hall. Right. That space is a lot smaller. Like when you enter through security, you're swiping your badge and you kind of go through, like it's a very short walk into the exhibit hall, so you don't have space to do any of those activations. A lot of those are outside, so along Fifth, along the convention row. So Google had a Ferris wheel, huge Ferris wheel. Peanuts had another pop up. I didn't see. I don't remember. I didn't see a Netflix. I don't think I saw a Netflix booth inside, and traditionally I've seen them.
Right. It's interesting because they've got Umbrella Academy coming out. So I'm surprised that they didn't have some kind of presence at the con.
I think maybe they did. I just don't. Maybe I just don't remember. Because I might have mixed it up with like the Dark Horse booth. They might have been pushing it. But there were still a lot of entertainment companies were doing stuff like right outside the convention across the tracks. In the gas lamp.
Gotcha. All right. Anything else, Roddykat? We'll let kind of Matt go through kind of the chronology of what he did Wednesday through Friday.
Yeah, actually, I got a couple of follow-up questions on some of that stuff. Actually, because one, you mentioned the DC presence, and there wasn't that much, which is kind of surprising to me considering the stuff they got coming out. But then, guys, maybe they're waiting closer to New York for some of that stuff. I'm guessing because they got that new universe that's going to pop up. So I was wondering, did you see any of that there in any of the DC stuff?
I saw some of the images. I believe I remember seeing some of those images. With Darkseid and like the Trinity, and then the new Trinity, and they were I got a lot of emails to like buy stuff at the booth because they're selling the new Superman shirt, and but didn't really spend a lot of time there because there were just lines, and I figure I can get, if I want that stuff I can get it online, but still a lot of signings. I think there were a lot of the DC creators were there. Now that what's interesting about the San Diego Arts Alley, they're sort of like what we would think of as sort of like the traditional free artist alley, like the way the tables are set up, and then around that they have artists who sort of got their own booth, almost, right, and own setup. Gotcha. So they that's where like Stan Sky's set up, or Dave Johnson in the past has been set up, or I saw Art Adams there, right, usually with his partner. So but didn't really see I didn't I'm a big DC fan, but I didn't guess a chance to hang out at the DC Comics area.
Okay.
Gotcha. Did Takara have a presence there, or was most of the Transformer stuff just with Hasbro? Because the 40th anniversary.
Yeah, so it was mainly on the Hasbro side. They had a lot of displays. I'll shoot you some pictures, and then they had there are some collabs, at some of the retailer booths, and what's that statue company? Kobayaki, right? They do those Bushido statues.
Kobayashi or something.
So but I think last year was Nemesis Prime. So, and then this year they did a Cliff Jumper version.
Okay, interesting. I guess the last two I had they're not necessarily connected, but did you see anything about because the voice actor strike started during the con? So did you see anything about that? I know there was a slight presence there because I know I've seen some videos about people talking about it there, but I think that was kind of a thing that had just started, like as the con kicked off.
No, I didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time in the pavilion, which is on the second floor, where with the autograph signings, and they have basically like the timed autograph signings, and then they'll have actors and actresses kind of stuff in the center, but didn't get a lot of voice actors are up there. That's usually where they're set up, and I didn't get a chance to go up there this year.
Gotcha. And I know that the strike is mostly for video game stuff, but I know they, like I said, I had seen that they were there because some of those folks, a lot of those folks do both. So Okay. And you heard the rumors of San Diego may or may not be moving. You know, that comes up every now and then.
It was funny. I didn't hear about them until later, much later in the kind of much later in the, like I think I was hearing them like Thursday or Friday. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's that's not what I was expecting.
It's something that I had heard like here and there was like for the last probably probably more than that 4 or 5 years definitely that they were thinking about it. But this is a year that apparently news sites or whatever were talking about it. So I didn't know whether there was any rumblings going around about that or not, or whether they would actually do it. I guess that's the big thing.
Right.
Yeah, because what was it, a couple of years ago? It was the last time there was rumblings. Anaheim was really making that play to try to get them to go over. I can't picture these guys really letting that happen because it drives so much of the San Diego economy, right? Like why would you ever let them go? But I mean, Vegas, it's very intriguing,
right? And the thing that gets me though is like the same thing could happen in these other places that could happen there because it's all mostly about like hotel gouging or whatever is what sparked it. So I'm like, I can't imagine the same thing wouldn't happen in those places.
Listen, we Wang and I would be hitting up an old classmate of ours if it moved to Vegas. We're like, hey man, is there some couch or floor space? You know.
He lives like just like 20 minutes from the Strip. Yeah. It's pretty close. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I mean, if you got anything else, Dave, or you got to
No, I mean, I guess I wanted to just see, if there was any sort of like a particular chronology, like how like different each day was, because I know that the days are different. Like I know Wednesday is preview night, so you could just go quickly through preview, like your experience of preview night, and then how Thursday and Friday were.
Yeah, look, with preview night. So I got there late Tuesday night, and kind of, to be honest, like worked most of the day in the hotel, and met up with, and then started meeting up with people. I had I was showing some people around who it was their first time there. My hotel this year was about like a 19-minute walk to the con, and the hotel I stayed at the last couple of years, it was 15 minutes. I know 4 minutes sounds silly, but like in the sun. In the sun,
and you're carrying your gear, yeah,
it can, and I try to stay pretty light, but I was still carrying like 2 sketchbooks and like my Comic-Con, like my Comic-Con bag, which is very well built, by the way. I've decided these San Diego Comic-Con bags are very well built. They're like they just go, and you can carry a ton of stuff in them. So I like walked to the con, gave my buddy a tour. Like, this is like how you get there. This is like where we're gonna have drinks later. And then this is where you should eat. And then we like walk back to the hotel. And then I like run back. Because I'm an exclusive fiend. So I was trying to run back. Because the preview night opened it ran 6 to 9. So I ran back, hit the floor at 6, tried to get some exclusives, kept getting shut out. But I got some stuff, and then I had a dinner at 7:15, so it was great. That was so much fun. It was like you got all the energy, had dinner, and then kept meeting with more people that night. But I'm on the East Coast. So I try to keep West Coast hours. I was meeting up with some comic book execs and so there's old friends of mine. Traded war stories and got a lot of good gossip, ate some good food, and then ended up the next day waking up East Coast hours, working, met people for breakfast in the hotel, and then hiked it, tried to get there before the 9:30 open, and it was pretty insane because you understand
the con, yeah.
You're talking like bumper to bumper at a certain point. And remember, a Comic Con, there are only like 3 pathways to cut across the trains,
Mhm.
right? Because it's right on the other side of the train tracks. So I was staying sort of at the one end. I could get through one end, but it was like I definitely used some of my New York drop on my shoulder to move ahead, because I was able
Nice.
to borrow an exhibitor's pass, so I can like get into the con early. And then like I spend the day like the first like 30 minutes trying to figure out what lines I can get on and trying to get stuff off my list.
Sure.
And then usually I would then go to Arts Alley or go meet people, because I had a lot of friends who were doing the same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and so that's usually the course. That was usually the course of the day, like meeting up with people who were and grabbing lunch with people, but just walking the floor with them usually, right? Meeting them and just like walk around, like what area do you want to walk around? Or we would walk. I spent a lot of time in the gaming area, and the Marriott this year they set it up in the ballroom, and the Marriott usually it was on like the 4th floor. They moved it a little further out, but got a lot more space. That's where they have like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon. I think they had Magic the Gathering, Star Wars Unlimited, which was really big this year. And that was my Thursday. Yeah. That was like most of my Thursday, was just spending a lot of time in the gaming area, the floor. And that then I had a panel. I spoke on a panel. That was part of the reason I was there. I was invited by my friends at Trotman Pepper to speak on a panel, mainly about entrepreneurship and like how to start a company, things to think about when you're doing something in the pop culture space. And then right after that, I had I was co-hosting an event with them at Lou and Mickey's, which is right next to. It's the first restaurant on when you cross the convention center, across the tracks into Gaslamp. So I had a small cocktail hour there. Got to catch up with a lot of people, and it was a lot of fun. What happened in the end when we left, when it was done, that the Gaslamp, the Petco's right there, and then we saw these. We thought they were fireworks, and these like purple lights start showing up, but they're like not going fast enough to be fireworks. And then we started realizing it was Galactus' helmet. So then I was like, oh, I gotta take out my phone, right? So I kind of missed that. And then that's when the 4 circles showed up. And then, Hall H Saturday.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
So I believe you're referring to Petco Park, the home of the
Yes.
San Diego Padres. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just just enlightening Roddykat, who does not follow the sports ball.
So you get on those Thursdays, on those walks, when you're like for me, I like shopping for stuff and going and buying stuff for people, picking up, people are texting me, grab stuff, or I'm getting stuff for my family or my friends. I like enjoy the walk, and in that way, like I get to see a lot of booths there. I see, meet new artists or retailers or companies I've never met before, or see people that I've seen at cons over the years. And you know how it goes. Like sometimes you make con friends, like
Right.
people you only see like once a year at a con.
Yep.
That I think those are really special experiences, especially like when it was really nice this year. I was able to hang out with people who had never experienced it before, so I got to see the con from their eyes and help them experience it. Like, oh yes, there'll be a bunch of Deadpools riding inflatable unicorns. Of course, there are going to be 20 of them.
Every Deadpool movie that comes out, there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of
course.
And then finally finished the story Friday. Up at 4:45 in the morning, did a bunch of work, got a bunch of calls, and then had breakfast and got there. This time I got there at 9 o'clock, and I hit the exclusives hard again. Got the stuff I needed, most of it I think. And
Is
then,
that when you picked up what I asked you to help me get?
Yeah. And I barely made it to shipping. Like I barely made it. UPS, I think I rolled into UPS like at 4 o'clock that day to get everything shipped. And then and then I hit the floor, and that's when I was able to get back on the Hasbro line. I was like, oh crap! Like how am I gonna get this stuff on the plane? But yeah, did more of that. Just continue to catch up with people. And you know what else I did on Thursday? On Thursday, I went to a great party. Hosted by this LA community of people who work in media, technology. They're actors, actors. I met the woman who played Aunt Ruby in Miss Marvel.
Oh, nice.
And then Angela Bimani met some authors. Met one of the writers on Supernatural, and she wrote the Tim Drake book, the Tim Drake miniseries recently. She was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a really cool event. It was a nice break. It was like where I had lunch on Thursday. But Friday was just continue to be another walk around day. And one of the things I think I always tell you every year, like I don't get to hear a lot of news unless like I'm like sitting down taking a break, or like when I get back to my room and I'm checking the internet. Right. I don't get a lot of news about what's going on at the con. When you don't get that when you're on the floor.
Right. You're on the move. You're too busy to take a look at stuff. Yeah.
Right. So
then I spent time at the Hilton, right? And check that out. And Hilton's where actually a lot of actors and actresses stay. So I didn't see any. I was just hanging out with people and chatting, and having coffee with them. And then I had went to a very quick dinner, had a party, and then I hopped on the first flight out Saturday morning.
Gotcha. So I was gonna ask, back to the games thing for a second. Were there any announcements that you did hear about that you were excited about on the game front?
They had the Magic Gathering Bloomberg pre-release.
Yes.
Which I was lucky enough to see a bunch of people from Wizards of the Coast there, some of the game designers and stuff like that, and chat with them, and didn't get a chance to draft with them, but just timing wise, but that was exciting, and they had great numbers for their tournaments. Starting when the tournament organizer there, Tim, and he was like, oh my god. Can we stop talking for a second? He had to put more tables and chairs out, and then it was really nice. So I think for people who are thinking about going right, there's not just the floor. Like I spent a lot of time on the floor, but there's so many other things to do, like just walking around. There was a whole ballroom with pinball machines. There were rooms filled with sort of like New York Comic Con rooms filled with network computers, so you can play all types of video games. There was a whole room dedicated to Star Wars Unlimited, and those were all relatively close to the con.
Okay. Wait. I guess now you just had another question, really, really quick before we move on. One, have you had a chance to draft since you've come back from and
It's on my phone. I've updated Arena on my phone. I haven't, and I have to. It's as I said, it's the cutest set ever.
It is. I've been playing a little bit in the last couple of days, and it's I've been enjoying it. And I had pretty much. I think I've told you this before. I've kind of dipped in and out of Magic every now and then. So the last couple of sets I really hadn't been to do, but I gonna dip back in with this one and played a couple of standard decks. Might be trying to get into Brawl. So.
David Peterson was at San Diego. I didn't get to talk to him. Usually, I've swung by his booth at Comic Con, but he did. I think he did 3 or 4 pieces of art for the new Magic set.
Oh, okay.
Nice. I mean, Roddykat actually posted. He sent me a photo, I guess, that Peterson posted on his social media, because he was selling box sets, the old box set of the Mouse Guard RPG, which is out of print. So it's cool that he still got he he brings a few sets with him to sell. So I'll see if he has any. Because I think by the time I circled to him at the last New York Comic Con, he was sold out. But I'd love to try to pick one up from him.
My first Comic Con in 2004. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the first time I went to Comic Con was 20 years ago, in 2004. So this was a special anniversary for me.
Wow. And you know what I have to say to that is,
but that one I remember the heat, and then I bought a special edition like David Peterson. You know, I know money, but I still did it. It was like a big felt cover David Peterson trade, right, of his first miniseries, and he had done like a beautiful sketch inside. So I have to find it. It's somewhere. I was reminded of that when I was telling stories about Comic Con. I was like, oh my god, my first one was 2004.
dang.
I guess one more magic question. That's it. For right now, because I'll probably hit you up later for something else. But do they sell?
Roddykat could do his own show on Magic. You know that, Matt. You could totally co-host that.
Not really. I'm casual with it, so not really. But do they sell Secret Layer stuff there at the show?
So yes, that was part of the Hasbro booth. So you know they always have Transformers, Power Rangers, GI Joe, Nerf, usually Star Wars, and Magic. And this year the Secret Lair was Monty Python.
Mm-hmm. Sold out real quick.
Sold out really quick, and but I someone wanted a set. So I was able to get a set for someone. Yeah.
Nice.
Like Agent 70 knows. I usually know a guy.
Yeah, I missed out on it because I didn't think about it until today, and I was like, God damn it! And then I found out they had already sold out quick. Which
It
I
was
should have known.
it was fast.
Yeah, I
It
know.
was fast. I was literally watching the product sell, like online waiting on my queue.
Right. Because I kicked myself because we talked about it last week before last, and I was like, that's the set I wanted to get because I love Magic, but also love Monty Python. So that was a good. But anyway, that's that. Also, I wanted to bring to y'all gentlemen's attention really quick before we go into to new stuff. Today is MTV's 43rd anniversary.
Ooh.
We some old motherfuckers. Somebody joked and said 43 years and 14 of it was music.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah, because after the first 14, it was reality TV.
Basically, yeah. And it was like, thanks for the 14 years of music. I'm like, yeah, you pretty much right on that. So, yeah. So yeah, it's out there. But folks, gentlemen, we're gonna get into the news real quick because we got a lot to go through that we're gonna try to breeze through real quick. And matter of fact, Matt, I'm going to send you the link real quick while we start up cinematic news.
Right.
Actually, you know what, Dave? So I'm sorry. Swerve real quick. Do an ad real quick.
All right, first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we're getting into a little out of order, the news.
To have to add Matt to the video, but let me do this news first. Wesley Snipes didn't think Blade return was possible until Ryan Reynolds was called. So it's spoiler alert, for a certain movie that just came out. But if you've been on social media and he'd been talking about it around his birthday, which was recent. Also, that Wesley Snipes had a cameo in that Deadpool movie. So.
I as you guys know, I have his email address, so I'm tempted. Do I call him? Or do I email him? I don't know.
Love it. Love it.
Great.
All right. Next up, Wolverine co-creator Roy Thomas on his Deadpool and Wolverine credit. My name should have come first. The former Marvel editor-in-chief shares his thoughts after seeing the movie and responds following a controversy surrounding him getting co-creator credit on the popular character. Yeah, I don't side with Roy Thomas on this, because this was a Ween and Vermeuda Senior and Herb Trimpe creation. That's just my 2 cents, but I know that Marvel has changed that up a little bit.
Credit where credit to do is pretty much where I stand at it, and if it was, like that, it is what you said it was. So like I'm kind of in agreement with you, but next up though, Reed Richards actor Pedro Pascal posts for the first. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do these next two because they're related. Actually, shit, I put some stuff out of order, but that's great. We'll get to it. Reed Richards actor Pedro Pascal posts for the first time Fantastic Four cast photo. If you're watching the video version, you can see that there. With I guess it says something on the Instagram post, but he doesn't. But I don't see what it says. But after that, apparently Congore's got to see some concept footage, and we also, as Matt also talked about earlier, we saw Galactus' head, got Retro Vision, and we also got the name of the title of the Fantastic Four movie, which is the Fantastic Four First Steps. It says here, there's a quote, we're doing a retro future 60s. Sid Mead was an inspiration. The 60s to me, I'm not sure who this quote from. It's probably Feige. Nope, Max Shackman, who's the director. So the 60s to me is all about optimism. And it says, I love the Fantastic Four, love their power set. We want to be true to the comics, but we want to be true to life. And yes, folks, there is some way bigger news that we will get to in a minute. I just got it out of order.
Okay, listen, I like that we started with the FFs because if I'm not mistaken, that's what came out first.
Yes.
Chronologically, so that's fine. And ultimately, I was happy to see that the cast actually looked good standing up there. The main four. So happy to see that. Any thoughts on that, Matt? If you have anything on that, go ahead.
Look, rumors. Killmonger might make an appearance, or no, no, God, was Michael B. Jordan's character? Oh my God, in Black Panther, I got that wrong.
Killmonger.
Killmonger, right? Yeah, I heard he's making an appearance in the movie.
That's funny.
No.
I mean, look, Jessica Alba's trying to get back up in there too. So I mean, hey, things could if they and they already have a multiverse established, so things can happen if they let it.
Right. So next up, do you want me to combine the two Cap stories together?
Yes.
No problem. So apparently it sounds like Anthony Mackie just let slip a major Captain America Brave New World spoiler. So spoilers for Captain America Brand New World. So apparently Mackie revealed that, that the Hulk will appear in Captain America Brave New World. So not just the red guy, but maybe the green guy too.
I mean, you have the leader, you have, Betty, Betty. I mean, why wouldn't Mark Ruffalo be in it, right?
Right. So that's one thing. And then the next thing is Captain America Comic-Con footage confirms the origin of MCU's adamantium. Bum, bum, bum. And also blows up the White House, is this Independence Day. So this is actually, believe it or not, a reference back to Eternals and Tiamat. God, I'm always tempted to say Tiamat, but it's Tiamat.
I still say Tiamat.
Right. So this was contained in footage for Brave New World, and it has some more stuff that was not in the trailer that played before, that dropped recently, and was also that showed before my screening of Deadpool and Wolverine. So it's an interesting thing that they're finally circling back to Eternals
Yes.
and touching upon the events of that movie. And we also found out at San Diego what the name of the character that Giancarlo Esposito is playing, and I was mildly surprised by that, but it's in the news now, so it's not that big a spoiler. He's playing Seth Volker, aka Sidewinder, the leader of the Serpent Society. He's not looking very snaky in those photos, but maybe that's something that occurs later on.
Right. So there was kind of a swerve from the rumors prior to the show of his character, to which apparently was another thing. But that, hey, all right, Serpent Society, let's go.
It makes a lot of sense, right? Those are basically Mark Grunwald's babies, and important in the Captain America run, right? And if you think about the first Sam Wilson Captain America run, I think it was Daniel Acuni. Did I pronounce that right? Like, he was drawing it. That first arc, featured the Serpent Society.
Yep.
All right, so now we circle back to to the big news.
The shocking news.
Yes, some would argue the biggest news of the show, but folks, the MCU now has its Doctor Doom, and it is Robert Downey Jr. Thoughts?
That was one of the best clips ever from Hall H.
Oh, the reveal? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think that's the reason you camp out and you line up for 24 hours or 12 hours or how many hours. That's why you do it.
Right.
So, okay. People went wild for this over the internet. The internet kind of blew up over this, and I'm sitting here like, why? I mean, not why, because we know why, but why is he? Well, I guess for me, why is he back, and why are we getting a Tony Stark variant and not Victor Von Doom? Because I think that's what we're getting. Right.
So I'm probably not in the why. It was very much. I was very much more like this.
These are things that make you say.
There was that.
Right? I was like, what are they doing with this? Like, I get it. They want to bring back, like, I've heard lots of justification for it. I've heard people say, oh, it's a nice little bookend because Tony Stark, aka, played by Robert Downey Jr., kicked off the MCU, and it's fitting that he would come back playing a character that kind of closes this era of storytelling in the MCU, going into Secret Wars, and then, is getting ready to launch whatever comes after, right?
Right.
And, be it a reboot or restart or whatever. And I get that. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, I wanted like a legit Victor Von Doom. Same. I wanted somebody scary, somebody with presence. Like a character that would literally be like, not even an anti-hero, just someone so scary, someone so intimidating that would make even like the biggest heroes and the smartest heroes quake in their boots, right. And that's not necessarily what we're getting. So I'm kind of confused. We don't know yet, though.
Right.
I have two points here. One is the people you love hurt you the most. So I mean, you can say that he's going to break our hearts as the villain, right? Doing what he does, and the second point is, when it was revealed, I don't know, from my point, it made a lot of sense because they were in a tough situation, right, with what's going on, with the Kang storyline, and this was an elegant way to kind of weave it in and put more importance into the Fantastic Four movie, right? And tying that in more into things, right? Because they had to figure out a solution for Kang, right? Like they were, for John, and not to say Jonathan Majors, right? They were looking at the rumors where they were looking at different actors to play that, and they were like, well, hey, maybe we don't have to change. Maybe we just change the villain. It'll be interesting to see like how they tie in, the TVA and everything that was going on, and like Loki into all of this. But it was elegant, exciting solution rather than go, oh, we just cast a new Kang.
Right. Which, again, we still don't know how things are going to play out, because it could very well still be, this version of Doom could be a King variant or something, or whatever.
Right, that was my first impression, that this is a variant of somebody, right?
Right.
And it's not the craziest idea. So,
and also, so we're recording live on Thursday night, and yes, I do know that Jonathan Majors has responded to things, but didn't put it in the lineup. So we know there was some response out there from him about that. So, I guess the last thing to say about that was like, outside of the fact that we don't know necessarily what we're getting, it's still like, okay, there's something there. And yes, I know the MCU's kind of was built around Stark and this and that. So I get that part. Like, yeah, okay, whether to circle around with him because he was all up and through this, as opposed to trying to get a new Victor Von Doom, which I really would want. You go with what you already had established and guess keep going from there. But it could very well be, as folks have been paying out. And I guess the other thing is, one, this could not be actual Doom. This could be Tony Stark variant Doom, and the real Doom we might end up getting. So there is that. And I'm also, my biggest worry is he going to keep the helmet on? No, probably not. Because and the next story actually I'm going to go ahead and take, because it fits into this, is that they spent a lot of money getting him and the Russo brothers back.
Right.
Rumored to be upwards of $100 million, I believe, and $80 million for the Russos to come back. So they are not going to let him keep the helmet on for any good length of time, I feel like, given that. So
I mean, he's probably getting more upfront money and probably more points on the back end, because that's where Downey made all that money from his first run in the MCU. Right. Getting points on the back end for these movies. So he's probably making money on both sides now.
Right. And the figures I dropped were just rumors. Like, there's only one figure in this article that I have up, and that's the $80 million for the Russos. But I have
the Russos, right?
Right.
Right. It's hard to speculate how much the payday would be until the end. The back end stuff is actually paid out. So
I thought you were about to say in-game.
Yeah. So moving on. Marvel stars react to Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the MCU, including Gwyneth Paltrow, Mark Ruffalo, and more. So the OG Marvel stars are celebrating Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So several actors chimed in. Gwyneth Paltrow, who we know as Pepper Potts, said, "I don't get it. Are you a baddie now? I love it." Mark Ruffalo said, "Hey, brat, green suits you." The Russo brothers even weighed in on the casting, saying, "We've always said green is your color." And Zoe Saldana reacted with a series of clapping emojis. And Frank Grillo, who plays Brock Rumlow, Crossbones, said it's amazing. Florence Pugh, who's in attendance at the Comic-Con panel but left the stage before Downey's introduction, reacted to the news, saying she didn't see it and she bet it was insane in Hall H. David Harbour, Sebastian Stan said some stuff. Interestingly, I read an article, I don't know if Roddykat has this in the news, that Downey kept this secret from his Avengers group chat.
I didn't have it, but I was going to mention it if you hadn't. You talking about Jeremy Renner also?
Yes, yeah. So apparently Renner let it drop in an interview that they were all surprised at the casting news because Downey did not let that drop in the Avengers group chat because I guess the Avengers, I guess the Marvel snipers reach even into the group chat. So,
Right.
Well, one of the, I was watching an interview today with one of the, cameo guest actors in, Deadpool, and he didn't tell his family what he was filming. He had to leave, and he couldn't tell his family. And that's how secret they were keeping it.
Yeah, Marvel
so they take their secrets pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm. Also, the Anthony Mackie also said something. Basically, I think it's on the video that's in the show notes in the clickbait section. Talking about, oh, word. He was like, I get first. Captain America gets first dibs on him. As going up against Doom. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, Sam.
Go ahead with your wings over there.
Yeah, exactly. But next up, Thunderbolt's trailer confirms major change to Winter Soldier. It's not that big of a deal. He brought back. He's now back to being Bucky with the long hair.
With the good hair, right? Yes. Bucky with the good hair.
So,
I mean, if you look at his appearance at San Diego, he's wearing the longer hair,
right?
Naturally. So, that shouldn't be a big surprise. All right. Next up, the Marvels and Morbius actor joins Nicolas Cage's Spider-Man Noir series. So, Abraham Papula Atlas is set to play the role opposite Nicolas Cage in Spider Noir, the upcoming MGM Plus and Prime Video live action series based on the Marvel Comics Spider-Man Noir. Okay. This is set to come out not tomorrow. I keep scrolling. Stop bearing the lead. So this is a sourced from Deadline. So the filming window is getting closer and closer, but we don't have a release date yet.
Right. Let's see. Next up, new Star Trek series in the works from Justin Simien and Tawny Newson. So let's see. There was an announcement at San Diego Comic-Con. Actually, there's some news coming up that I think I'm sure Matt's might be excited about if he already knew about it. But for those that don't know, Tawny Newson is one of the stars of Star Trek Lower Decks. Justin Simien is the writer-director behind Dear White People. And the series, according to this article, is intended to be an action comedy that, according to Paramount, centers on the Federation outsiders who are serving on a gleaming resort planet. I'm assuming it's probably Riser. Not only that, their day-to-day exploits are being broadcast to the Inquirer Quadrant. So it sounds like a reality TV show, but Star Trek. So I don't know how to feel about that, but hey, we'll see how it goes. Next up.
All right, so some surprise legacy characters from Star Trek Discovery and Voyager are confirmed for Star Trek Starfleet Academy at San Diego. So Mary Wiseman, Oded Fair, Tig Notaro, and Robert Picardo will join the cast, dispensing wisdom to new Starfleet recruits in the series. With Picardo's holographic doctor joining Starfleet Academy, the show promises to honor Star Trek's past while establishing its next generation. Oh, that's not a play on words. Okay, exactly.
I'm excited for the show.
Yeah.
They got the lead from Lower Decks. She's a writer on the show, and you kind of knew Mary Wiseman was going to be on there. They were really setting it up in Discovery.
Right. Yeah, I still need to finish up the Discovery. And matter of fact, yes, we had just finished talking about Tawny Newson is writing another Star Trek-based show with somebody. So there's going to be no shortage of Star Trek stuff, which I'm not mad about. And yeah, I'm also looking forward to Starfleet Academy. But shifting to some DC stuff, looks like Peacemaker Season 2 is bringing back Rick Flag some kind of way.
Senior.
Right.
I think he's going to have words, right? With a certain person who might have killed his son.
Yep.
Well, according to here, so you're thinking they're bringing him back as Cena? Because according to this, it's the actual.
No. I thought it was John, the Punisher. Isn't he playing the father, Rick Flag Sr.?
Oh no! Well, it says Joel Kinnaman is coming back.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's new. Okay.
So, yeah, and I did see something about the father, but I don't know that might be in line. But no, apparently they're bringing back Rick Flag actual or Junior.
I was about to say the Rick Flag that we've been introduced to in live action.
Right. Which, if you've seen that's second season Suicide Squad movie, you understand why that's kind of shocker. Or weird, not necessarily a shocker, but weird. But next up.
Alrighty, next up, Cartoon Network reveals a massive crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Mirths. So, Max's Jellystone. Oh wait, Cartoon Network is bringing back some major characters for the first time in the upcoming Jellystone crossover. So Jellystone first premiered on Max in 2021, assembling new hilarious takes on the Hanna-Barbera roster. And apparently they're doing a big crossover called Crisis on Infinite Mirths. So they're bringing in the Powerpuff Girls, Mojo Jojo, Grimm, Billy, Mandy, Dexter, and Dee Dee will all be making comebacks in this show to play around with the Hanna-Barbera characters.
Speaking of, I forgot to read that Powerpuff Girls book. Giggles. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I haven't watched Jellystone, so I guess people must like it enough for them to do this. But next up, according to Robert Kirkman, we're just getting started, and apparently, the Invincible animated show it could potentially have legs. So it says he was speaking at Variety Studio at Comic-Con and expressed optimism about the longevity of the animated series based on his popular comic book. Quote, I feel like we're just getting started. I'm very hopeful that this show can be around for a while. I mean, given how long it's taken them to put seasons out, that's probably true one way or the other. But it says with season 4, we're really hitting our stride. There's really exciting stuff coming up in season 4.
You know what? It's so funny. Yeah, he was one of the guys he was my first Comic-Con. He was one of the guys I met. I got assigned first 2 trades of Walking Dead and first trade of Invincible signed by him there. Like I bought it directly from him. Nice. But I feel like the animated show is he obviously he's made some tweaks in it compared to the comic, because I think we've all read the comic before, which is a great run, great comic, and I think I can definitely see that, because this is basically his director's cut. He's like fixing things that he wanted to fix, when it's 20 years later and he's a much better writer or more experienced.
Right. From what I understand, there's probably some stuff that was in the books that probably wouldn't fly anyway if you were to try to put them in there. So I don't know, but I don't know. I honestly haven't read the books, so.
He had a really long run, and I think there are some things he did, like in the past, he was like, oh, maybe I should tweak that a little bit. Right. Not like a Chris Claremont type, revision, but
Right. Next up.
All right, next up. Oh, this is great news. So I'm a big fan of the Netflix series, The Toys That Made Us. This is produced by the good folks over at Nacelle. And apparently now they, at a San Diego Comic-Con panel, released teasers and announcements for the subjects for these upcoming documentary episodes. So season 4, episode 1 is Superhero Toys. Episode 2 is Nerf. Episode 3 is Pokemon. And episode 4 is American Greetings, which includes Care Bears, My Pet Monster, and Strawberry Shortcake. Season 5 has I guess they're breaking up into like 2 core, right? This is very anime, right? Season 5, episode 5 starts with Hot Wheels. Episode 6 has all of the Ghostbusters toys. Episode 7 has Polly Pocket. Oh my gosh. And episode 8 has fast food toys, the add-on toys that come with Happy Meals. I'm excited. I always love watching these toys that made us documentaries.
Yeah, I thought they were done, so I was like, so seeing this news was a welcome surprise. And actually, now that we bring this up, hey, Matt, did you see any Oni Press and the sale stuff?
Yeah, I saw it. They had a nice presence, and I know Agent 70 is the biggest fan of Sectars.
Of course.
We talked about that, yes.
Yeah, that and you look, he was also trying to, a couple weeks ago, he was trying to get me to pick up the RoboForce too. So you got, Oni, you got a big fan over here, Agent 70.
I actually did pick up those RoboForce books, so and that Biker Mice book, the first one, and I still hadn't read that one.
Yeah, he's the Biker Mice from Mars fan over here.
I see that one. I remember, and I remember Sectars. Right. I don't remember RoboForce.
So RoboForce was early '80s, so I would probably know RoboForce before you guys would, because y'all are a little younger than I am, and my Biker Mice was like '90s, so that's all y'all.
Right, that's after our time, yeah.
Right. Or that's more y'all or closer to y'all than me, I should say.
Right.
But yeah, I've just been checking out those books, and RoboForce is alright, even though RoboForce was kind of just an early '80s thing and such a sad thing. It was like I don't vaguely remember it then, even though I was around, and so therefore I don't remember much of the book or the show. So I don't know, but yeah, Toys That Made Us, great to see that back. Next up though. There we go. I don't know. I just threw this in here because it was stupid. Trailer for an annoyingly bad looking B movie, Catnado. So, for those of you who know about Sharknado, yes, this is pretty much this, but that, or that, but this, with cats. It says, quote, the world faces a horrific onslaught of tornadoes, each unleashing hordes of enraged and deadly cats upon humanity, as if cats weren't bad enough as it is, by the way.
Shots fired.
I'm just saying, hey, I love cats, but those are demons.
Shots fired.
But as chaos reigns, a disparate group of individuals have one mission: to stop this feline fury. So, yeah, you didn't think they would get any lower than Sharknado or Transmorphers and the like, and here we are. Apparently, the movie is going directed to video, of course, starting October 22nd of this year.
Okay.
Look out for that. It'll probably be on Mystery Science Theater a week later. Next up.
All right, next up. So, as of today, as of this recording, August 1st, 2024, Godzilla -1 - Color is available on Netflix. So, I did not get to watch this version of Godzilla -1 in the theaters. I'm looking forward to being able to watch this black and white version at home sometime this weekend or next week.
Yeah. And if I had thought about it, I would have pulled up the stinker, but that's fine. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, because I had not seen either one of them. So, and I knew the original version was out there on Netflix. I just hadn't had a chance to check it out yet. What about you, Matt?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm classic black and white. Like I don't think I've watched the modern Godzilla movies. I'm like classic black and white. I think maybe the ones like 20 years ago, but I don't know. I think especially with the King Kong crossovers, I think I need to get back into it.
Yeah,
they look awesome. They look awesome, and look. I like to be a guy in a rubber suit and not in buildings, but this looks even better.
Right. So I'll tell you that because of the anniversary, because of the recent hype around the legendary release, the Kong crossover and all that stuff, right? The team up. I'll tell you that the Godzilla movies have never been more available on streaming services. Right. True. So if you go to Max, if you go to Prime, they're YouTube. All over the place, like the different generations also. We're talking about the black and white ones that are older, as well as the 90s ones, which were coming out as we were like in, high school and college, and we were starting to take advantage of a little bit more of the special effects and the CGI that were becoming more prevalent at the time. A lot of them are standalone. Some of them do have continuing stories, but it's never been a better time to kind of catch up and jump into Godzilla with the very open mind. Just go in with an open mind and enjoy it. It's never been this easy to find Godzilla for yourself, as long as you have access to most of the streaming services.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Shout Factory has a YouTube channel that shows nothing but Godzilla movies all day, and they're also handling part of distribution on some of that stuff. So that's why they have that. Pluto TV's also got a channel. Uh-oh. Did we lose your Matt, or did your? There we go. Okay.
So
he
I
froze
think every time I say Godzilla, like my camera goes off.
I know. Yeah, you did freeze up. So I was like, I know Godzilla's got you shook, man. I understand. He's a big dude.
That's right.
Next up, though, we get into we're anime adjacent. Gundam Requiem for Vengeance trailer was showcased at San Diego Comic Con, set during the 1 Year War, and will release on Netflix in October. So yes, folks, we are back to the 1 Year War yet again.
Okay. Okay.
And you can
All
check the
right.
trailer.
So
Next
now are we in anime corner?
We are.
Brand new.
Back memories, doesn't it? So, in an exclusive story, Rooster Fighter anime has been revealed. The new series is currently in production and will be coming to screens via Adult Swim. This was announced at San Diego Comic-Con at a Viz Media panel. Okay, Rooster Fighter, gotta love it. That's an interesting image right there.
Yes, if you're watching the video version, you can see said image that he's speaking of.
I can't help but think of oh my god, what is it from Animaniacs, the character
Chicken Boo.
Yeah. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
Fair. No, that's fair.
Is he related to Dog Welder?
You don't know. Oh, God.
That's a deep cut
is a
for some DC fans out there.
Oh, God. Rooster Fighter anime. Okay. Next up.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a trailer you can check out if you're at all curious about this. Actually, you should take this next one.
Okay, I'll jump to the next one. Give me 1 second. Keanu Reeves' Berserker anime recruits Terminator Zero showrunner. Writing for this anime is set to start this fall. So this is the anime adaptation of Keanu Reeves' Berserker comic, and it's finally ramping up 3 years after its announcement. And the screenwriter of Terminator Zero, Mattson Tomlin, will serve as showrunner. This was announced at San Diego Comic-Con, where Tomlin made an appearance alongside Keanu Reeves at a panel dedicated to Berserker.
They were, Dark Horse was pushing it. I was surprised that that they were pushing the novel, right? They had assigned Keanu Reeves novel. He teamed up with one of my favorite writers, China Melville, on this, and it was it's not the typical choice. China Melville is not like your typical sci-fi writer. He would describe himself. He's sort of a weird fantasy writer, wherein he alternates writing like weird fantasy / sci-fi books / then he'll write he's a big socialist communist. He'll write manifestos like the history of like the socialist movement in Paris in like 1920s. Like he switches back and forth. So I was actually pleasantly surprised that Keanu went for such a kind of like out of the box writer. I mean, this guy's a New York Times bestselling author. Every time he writes something, it hits the New York Times bestseller list. But this guy's not a like your typical pop culture writer.
Right. And
Right.
congrats
So
to
the
Keanu
book
Reeves.
of Elsewhere. I was about to say that's the novel that Matt's referring to is called The Book of Elsewhere, but it's inspired by the world of the Berserker comic books.
Yeah, the review that New York Times, I think it was the New York Times or the Washington Post did a review, and it is. I don't think it's an easy read, but I'm excited to pick it up just because it's China Melville.
Mm-hmm. Okay. was going to say, congratulations to Keanu Reeves, who I think won an ink pot during the convention.
Good for him.
Yeah, and I think he had his mom's there with him, and I think there's a video out there about that. It'll probably be in the show notes. Next up, though, to round out our anime corner, Zoid celebrates 25th anniversary with a special poster. For those of you younger cats, I know Zoids has been around since the 80s, so don't at me on that. But this is newer Zoids, and not what I'm thinking about. No, actually, I'm thinking about robotics. I'm not thinking about Zoids.
Yeah, you and me are like the two robotics fans on the East Coast. So
Robot. I remember the theme song.
There you go. Yep.
Robotics.
Sunday mornings, right?
mornings,
Like Sunday
yep.
mornings, 9:00 a.m.
I think it was a little earlier for me. It was either like it was robotics, Jim and the Holograms, and Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines.
But I thought Gem and the Holograms and Bigfoot, the Monster Machines, were stripped and showing every day. But you only get robotics like on the weekends.
I think they ended up doing that with those, but they was definitely they started out with in that one block that they had with the robotics.
Before we jump off to the next topic, speaking of Saturday morning cartoons, I'm going to ask you guys. This is going to be another deep cut. Okay. Do you remember? So Voltron, 5 cats showed like Monday through Friday. Did you guys ever watch the Voltron that was in the Far universe? Right, because I think the 5 lines were in the Near universe, but there was another Voltron that was 15 vehicles.
I knew you
that
were
combined.
We all know that's your favorite.
Well, you know what happened? Like my dad came back from a trip to Hong Kong to visit family. Came back and he said, "I got you Voltron." And I was so excited, right? Because like, who doesn't want that, right? And then when he gave it to me, I'm like, "What is this?"
I think something similar has happened to all of us at one point.
It was Voltron,
Right.
right? So maybe it's got me subliminally into variant covers or special exclusives now, so I think but I still it's one of my favorite stories because I was like literally I looked it up. It's like, oh my god, this really is Voltron. Just and then did you know there was a third Voltron, but it only aired in Asia? 3 robots.
Oh yeah. They're like they're actually humanoid robots that form. Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah. There was also
I used to watch I watch it in Hong Kong when I go visit.
There was also the I still haven't. I need to track this down, but there was also the movie that had both the vehicle and the lions together. Yeah.
That was on TV as when we were kids.
It was, and I can't track it down for the life of me at this point. But I know there's information out there about it, and I cannot track down a copy.
They might have split it up into multiple episodes.
They might have, yeah, because that is a thing.
So, right. Yeah. So that's how I remember watching it. Is that they split it up into multiple episodes.
Googling that right now.
Or was it already an OVA or something? I can't remember, but it was something that brought both of them together, and it was like, okay, I need to.
Right.
I absolutely.
They definitely teamed up. I definitely remember watching that, and I believe it was not presented as a movie or as a long form movie, but as multiple episodes.
Right.
But that could have been like a whatchamacallit. What was the American?
The OVA? An OVA or?
No. I mean, like the adaptation. However, they cut it up. There might have been. Yeah. That's all.
What's his face could have gotten a hold to it, or Harmony Gold or somebody. I don't know. But,
exactly. Like whoever, like I forget whoever brought it over and adapted it for American viewers.
Right.
They most likely edited a lot out just so that they could put them together in 2 episodes, and obviously edit out some of the violence.
Yeah.
Voltron Fleet of Doom.
Yes. That's it. So yeah, anybody out there knows about it, I'm sure you're about as
there
old
you go.
as we are.
Well, I'd love to watch that again.
Yeah, it might be out there somewhere at this point. Got to be.
I'm looking.
There you go.
And with that, we're gonna move on to we're gonna move over to the manga corner.
All righty. think it's my turn, right?
Wait, yeah, but let me go ahead and ask Matt since you got that. Have you read the Gotcha Man book?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. Well, we'll be talking.
I'm pulling it right now. The physical book. It's out. The second issue's out this week, but we haven't received a review copy.
Yeah, but we'll talk more about that a little later. So spoiler free, because I did end up reading my copy. But that's you. Go ahead.
Alrighty, Ultraman. Speaking of Ultraman, Along Came a Spider-Man manga is set to come in this month, August 2024, and apparently it features a character we've been talking about all show, Dr. Doom, who joins forces with Ultraman arch nemesis alien Mephilas. So the manga will be released digitally on the same day as Ultraman X Avengers, out on August 14th. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we'll be getting copies of that, but I want to check that out regardless. So
interesting.
And speaking of, we're getting to the comic book news. Perfect. Spider-Man gets a new costume from Dr. Doom. So this is talking about that this is a part of the Marvel's Next Big Thing panel at Comic-Con, and I think we talked about the what this is from before, but this is from that 8 Deaths of Spider-Man series that is coming up this fall. And we got shades of in whatever book that was. We got rumblings of it in the back half of one book in the last couple of weeks. I can't remember what it was. That kind of teased a little bit of it. But 8 Deaths of Spider-Man is going to begin in Amazing Spider-Man 61 in November. Okay, so I thought it was a standalone thing. We're also talking about a book that we're also going to talk about in a second, which we'll get to. But
they haven't announced what comes after that, right? Because it's right. It's like Joe Casey.
So yeah, it does say Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness. Yeah,
Casey, right?
And I know Joe Kelly's been kind of Joe Casey's the one been trying to crack the Spider-Man thing, but Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness is taking over the series after Zeb Wells' run.
Okay.
In 60, yeah. So there is that. Next up.
Did you see the rest of the article? Or
yes.
Do you have a separate article about
yes.
The rest of this? Is a separate article?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't want to step on.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. I was saying because I knew we had another one in there.
Gotcha. Marvel debuts an all-new Spider-Girl. Okay. I mean, we've got a lot of women who are running around in Spider-themed costumes. So a year ago, Marvel shocked the comic book world with the introduction of Spider-Boy to the Spider-Man mythos. Now, in celebration of the end of the first year of Spider-Boy's ongoing series, Marvel is introducing an all-new Spider-Girl to the Marvel Universe in Spider-Boy number 12. Okay. So in a press release for the new character's debut, Marvel noted Spider-Girl's mysterious backstory will supersede even Spider-Boy's shocking origin. Yikes.
Yeah. That's a. We'll see about that, I guess, or we won't, because neither one of us are reading Spider-Boy at this point.
Yeah.
Shout out to Von Gloom who joins us in the chat. What's going good, sir?
How are you?
Missed most of it again. Don't worry about it. We're good. You can catch.
Wait a second. Time. I just read this article.
Okay.
Mayday Parker was introduced over 25 years ago in a What If issue. Again.
Boy, I'm too old for this shit.
Yes, sir. Yes, we are. Next up, though, Marvel writers Dennis Camp hints that the Ultimates number 4 will solve the mystery of how Robert Downey Jr. is the MCU's Dr. Doom, which also kind of feels like it goes back to a conversation we had prior to the show about the whole MCU comics conversation. So now he could be joking. He could not be, but it's a good way to bring up the fact that, hey, he's writing a somewhat adjacent story with a character, with the character that just so happens to be in both. So, or will be in both after a while. But the quote is, if you want to understand Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom, you must read Ultimates number 4 on September 4th. That's his quote from Twitter, and I think I remember seeing this tweet. So,
And you guys are all like enjoying the Ultimates, right? The new Ultimate Universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Ultimate Spider-Man more so than the Ultimates, but yes.
Yeah.
Which actually
Yeah. Ultimate Spider-Man is the strongest title so far.
Yeah. But yeah, Ultimates is good though. So with especially how they set up their part of the world, which we will again talk about later, because that will definitely come a part of what we will talk about.
Right. Speaking of, Marvel's new Ultimate Universe turns 1 year old, believe it or not, with a special one-shot this December titled Ultimate Universe 1 Year In. And 1 Year In #1 will take a wide-angle snapshot of the new Ultimate Marvel reality. And that's going to be written by Ultimates writer Dennis Camp with an artist yet to be named. Okay, that'll be out in December.
Yep. Real quick, Von Gloom says the only Spider Boy I acknowledge is the Amalgam one. Sure. The only Spider Girl I acknowledge is Mayday Parker. And about Dennis Camp, he's joking because he's doing. Yeah, we know his ultimate riches. So, but yeah, we know.
Right.
Wolverine dons Magneto's helmet, fights Colossus, and rides a dinosaur in Bloody Wolverine Revenge trailer. So apparently Hickman and Greg Capullo is writing. Jonathan Hickman, excuse me, and Greg Capullo are writing, or the creative team on Wolverine Revenge, which is going to go on sale August 21st. There's a trailer for it out there. It's a limited series. Apparently, Logan is taking on dinosaurs, S.H.I.E.L.D., old enemies, and friends, according to the summary of this article. So if you're interested in watching the trailer for that, you can check it out in the show notes. Next up.
All right, next up.
Rumor, I heard the owls are showing up too.
Next up, I'm not even going to cover.
Next up, Marvel announces Laura Kinney, Wolverine #1 at the Women of Marvel panel at San Diego Comic-Con. The title, that was the title written by Erica Schultz with art by Giada Belviso. And this is Laura's first mission in the From the Ashes era. And let's see here. We've got images of the cover. The new ongoing series is on sale this December.
I have to admit, like that the Tom Taylor Wolverine series was actually, I think a very underappreciated run. When he did the, I don't know, like I thought I've read a lot of the X-23, but like I think the Tom Taylor series that Wolverine run. So I'm actually excited for this run. I think she's a great character, and I think writer, they've been getting really good writers and creative teams around her.
Yeah. You did say who was writing this.
Yeah, I did. It is again Erica Schultz. Right, written by Erica Schultz with art by Giada Belviso.
Right. Von Gloom says Greg Capullo is worth the price of admission for him. So good, cool.
All right.
And thought they were easing into X titles. No, they aren't. No, they are not at all.
They never do.
No, we're getting at least one, probably about 3 a month. 3 or 4 a month at this point. All right, here's the news, folks. Iron Man is leading a new West Coast Avengers team that will turn Ultron into a hero, according to this article. So we'd already been talked about the tease from what was teased at the end of Iron Man 20, which, sorry, spoiler. Matt, I don't know if you were keeping up with Iron Man anyway, though. So, but
no, I'm excited for this lineup. It's Firestar, it's whatever. Joe Ultron from Avengers Inc., right? War Machine, Tony Stark. Who am I missing?
Spider-Woman, since she's out west now.
Right. Jessica Drew and War Machine.
Right. So. Look, I mean, you throw in U.S. Agent, you got Force Works.
No, so. I made a similar joke about that when this was teased. But at the time, with what they were teasing in Iron Man, they looked like they were going with more villains than not. So it was like, whatever stupid joke I made. But I made a Force Works joke like that. Of like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I damn sure wouldn't want U.S. Agents on the team either way. But a new iteration of the Wackos, hey, I'm down for it.
I mean, look, aren't you like what was the other character? Sentry and then Moonraker,
No, I hated both of those characters.
and then
the
what was
the
it
other
like?
Sentry, you gotta clarify because there's, it.
Oh, right. Oh, that's what it was. Sentry, and then what was it? Cybernary.
Oh no, yeah, no, yeah, century. Don't say
Right, Sentry
century
as
so
in
quickly.
exactly. It's the year, and
Century.
then the
Yeah.
The Moonraker guy, and then wasn't there like Cybernary?
I don't
God,
know.
Force Works.
Yeah.
Oh my
Force was a
God!
weird
I had a
book.
friend in college who was collecting Force Works, so I read a lot of that.
I think I started collecting because it was part of, it was like an offshoot of the Wackos. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check this out.
Right.
But
Right. I like this lineup, and listen,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of whoever's trying to boost the profile of Firestar.
Yeah.
yeah. And again, the Wackos are back. So, in a more classic sense. And don't get me wrong, I like those last couple of iterations, but here we go.
That was
Yeah.
a fun. That was a real fun one, though.
Totally.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. I know it only lasted. What did it last? Like four? It didn't even last. Did it last 14 issues?
It was like 12 or something. You're close. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that long, but yeah, it was fun. It just didn't get a chance to breathe one, and there was a lot of stuff going on around it. So, but yeah, no, looking forward to this, which will go on sale. West Coast Avengers #1 will go on sale in November. Don't have a hard date, but rest assured, we will be talking about it. Next up,
Yeah.
though.
Oh, did we say that who's writing it?
Oh, did we say? No, I don't think we did. I'm sorry. Thank you. Oh shoot, Jerry Duggan.
Right,
writing.
because it's carrying on from his Iron Man run.
Right, and then Danny Kim is doing the art. So, and the colors and letters haven't been announced, but so yeah,
Cool.
and it's Duggan. So yeah, I'm on board with this. I'm on board all the way over on this. Next up, though.
Alrighty, next up. So, Star Wars Ewoks limited series is coming in October 2024. This October, Steve Orlando, Alvaro Lopez, and Laura Braga's Star Wars Ewoks tells a new saga set directly after the events of Return of the Jedi. The first issue is dropping into comic shops on October 9th.
We got Agent 70s cosplay for New York Comic Con this year.
We got Chief Chirper or Wicket?
Wicked.
Yub. Okay.
Von Gloom says Al Jung already gave us a heroic Aldron, and I agree. I love that book. And Century of Wanda, I forgot. So Scarlet Witch was on Force Works. Totally forgot about that. Anyway, let's see. Next up, Star Wars: Reign of the Empire to reveal the origins of the Rebel Alliance. Apparently, it's going to be seen through the eyes of Mon Mothma, Saw Gerrera, and Bail Organa. So, three people who would know about the start of the rebellion. So the trilogy kicks off. Apparently, Lucasfilm's it's a trilogy of novels. Let me get that out of the way first of all. Aimed at exploring the political origins of the Rebel Alliance. It's going to kick off in 2025 with Star Wars: Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear, written by Alexander Freed. And it's set in the year after the events of Revenge of the Sith, and explores how Mon Mothma, I don't know why I'm putting so much emphasis on that name, Saw Gerrera and Bail Organa react to the death of the Republic and the rise of Palpatine's new government. So, which that actually sounds interesting. I might want to check that out. I hadn't read too many of the novels. Book 2 is being written by Rebecca Roanhorse, and the third book is being written, by Fran Wild. The second book is called they don't have titles for the last two, just book 2 and book 3. So look out for that, folks. Next up.
All right, so we have some news from San Diego Comic-Con from Oni Press. They will quote unquote undo the comics code. They talk their acquisition of EC Comics and more at their panel. And they've got some creators lined up based on a couple of the slides that they showed. They've got more than a few named creators lined up to do some EC Comics titles that Oni Press is going to be publishing. So Jason Aaron, Christopher Cantwell, Chris Condon, Cullen Bunn. there's a lot of names out here that you will be sure to recognize doing EC Comics, horror related stuff without the burden of the comics code.
Right. I would have been shocked if they hadn't gotten Cullen Bunn, who's actually doing pretty good on Gotcha Man, by the way, which is weird to say. But yeah, that's the thing. Next up, speaking of Oni Press, we got a preview of Sesame Street #1. Yes, folks, that's Sesame Street. Apparently, Grover wakes up to another beautiful day on Sesame Street, but he soon discovers that his friends each have a problem to solve that before they can enjoy it. Read along in this brand new comic book as Grover does what he does best, lends a helping hand. After all, the most fun on Sesame Street comes from working together. It's an actual book. It's going to be in stores August 28th. Let's see who's writing it, but I see a bunch of who's got the covers on here. So, here we go. Joey Esposito is the one writing. Who that name sounds familiar for some strange reason. And art by Austin Backel. I hope I didn't butcher that name. And there's the cover right there for watching the video version. Next up.
Alrighty, next up. New Dynamite Warner comics for Ben 10, Captain Planet, and more were announced at San Diego Comic-Con. So licensed comic series library is starting to grow under Dynamite / Warner Brothers Discovery. So the new upcoming series include Ben 10, Captain Planet, the Herculoids, Thundar the Barbarian, and Dino Mutt and Blue Falcon. Writer Tom Snikowski will take on the Herculoids. That's definitely one creator that's mentioned here. This is a walk down memory lane for a lot of us, except for the Ben 10 stuff that's recent. But
yeah, it's more
everything
90s,
else
2000s.
is,
I mean, a lot of that Hanna-Barbera like deep cuts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Johnny Quest book is coming out sometime soon. So looking forward to checking that out. Also,
is Dynamite like there? I mean, they've got so many like licensed products right now. I mean, they seem to be, if you think about it, like there are not that many independent comic book companies left, like of scale, and they're like one of the last ones left.
Yeah. Von Gloom says, Oni Press does a Sesame Street comic. Is this response to Marvel's Donald as Wolverine comic, which it came out this week and neither one of us read? Maybe.
Right.
The Herculoids. Ben Caldwell had a great reimagining for Thundar. I just bought Thundar the Barbarian DVD set, so this is quite timely. I'm looking forward to the Hercules.
Speaking of Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge, did you see? There's a Frank Miller variant of the Uncle Scrooge comic.
One shot, that Jason Aaron did.
Yeah,
I saw it. I saw the variant. I'm like, okay, good stuff. Did you read it?
No, it's definitely on my list. I'm actually looking. I'm probably gonna pick up the Frank Miller variant.
It's pretty good. I wasn't sure what to expect from Jason Aaron doing the Uncle Scrooge story, but it's pretty good. So, but next up though,
we're transitioning into more comic book into DC news here. Go ahead.
Yeah, DC All In and Absolute DC line is a part of a big meta story for DC across the next 2 years, according to Scott Snyder. So apparently this was taken from the Jim Lee and Friends panel at Comic-Con. And Absolute Batman writer Scott Snyder clarified that the world that the Absolute titles are set in is not just another Earth in DC's existing cosmology of multiple worlds. Instead, the Absolute Earth is something else different entirely, but something intensely connected to the core DCU and to the main Earth that the regular DC titles are set on. So there you go. I'll let folks go and get whatever other soundbites from this. I'm curious about this, but at the same time, I'm not sure what to think about it. It just feels like DC's Ultimates universe, but we don't know. So next up, I'm sorry, you got something?
Did you hear the shade that Marvel threw on it? at their
No.
Ultimates panel.
No.
What
What did they say?
They said, I think they wrote like, they said, we absolutely have no idea what they're doing. Something like that. You gotta look. There's an article. It was funny. It was like a one sentence thing, but it was obvious. They were, poking all fun at their competition.
Right.
Right. Absolute. That's the one where like Dark Side has changes something.
Yes. Going
Got
into
it,
going to the absolute he's gonna be the catalyst and or whatever.
We haven't heard that story before. Okay.
No, not at all.
Next up.
Von Gloom says, hold on. Von Gloom says Doc Shaner would make a great artist for the Johnny Quest book. He did do Johnny Quest when DC had their whole Future Quest thing. You probably already remember that. So yeah.
Great on that. I remember that.
That stuff was so good. Yeah, that stuff was his art was great. So next up though.
At DC's Absolute Power panel at San Diego Comic-Con, Absolute Batman writer Scott Snyder said the publisher would be doing incentives and giveaways in comic shops each week, starting in October to promote the Absolute Universe comics and the All-In initiative as a whole. And as revealed in a closed-door retailer event hosted by Lunar Distribution, DC will be sending out Justice League membership cards to retailers beginning in October, with a new Justice League member featured each week. So there'll be 4 different, so you get a a Justice League membership card for free for customers that purchase 4 different all-in titles each week. Yikes.
Yeah. Can I make a comment here, and then I unfortunately have to run, but
sure,
can I ask you questions? But so they made that big push when after Dark Crisis, or it was Dark Crisis. After that, there's no more Justice League. The Titans are the premier team now, and we had some, I thought the Beast World was fun, and the Titans title's fine, right? But I was wishing they'd give the Titans just a little bit longer, and it never felt. Beast World felt good, but I think it just needed a little bit more time to breathe. So I'm not sure. I'm super excited for the Justice League to come back, but I'm hopeful. It's Mark Waid, so I'm very hopeful about it right now.
Right.
Got it.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say thanks for joining us. It's too bad we're a couple stories away from my biggest story of San Diego Comic-Con, which is the announcement of the ROM Space Knight Marvel Legends figure. So make sure to take a look at, listen to the show and take a look at some of the articles out there, because they don't have anything in plastic yet, but they have renderings, and it's incredible.
I will let, as I told you earlier, I will let my friend know who helped make some of the comic reprints happen, that you are very, very grateful to him for making that happen.
Yes.
And make sure that when you see Dave, the 8 to 70, at New York, that he has his Green Goblin stuff on, which is another story we'll be talking about. Because
I don't know if I'm going to be wearing that stuff, but yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Well, Matt, it was great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on. I really always appreciate it. I have so much fun.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, like I said, we have to have you back when there's not a con, but we know we'll hopefully we'll have you back for New York, but hopefully before then as well.
Well, if you find, ping me, let me know. Always happy to hop on. Just give me give me like 24 hours notice.
Of course.
You got it.
All right.
See you.
Take care, guys.
Alrighty. So we are on. Oh, you have to make adjustments, right?
Yeah, but why you could do the next story while I'm doing that.
All right. So McFarlane Toys is debuting Batman Superman World's Finest Fusion figure. Okay. So let's see if this is what I think it is, and yeah, it looks like it is. So, discover the fusion figure. So it has, the unique blend of powers and skills the compound bat character exhibits in its comic debut. So yeah, you can see it's all over the place.
So I remember reading that in World's Finest because this was from like this basically from this year,
Right.
and I felt that they were going to do this or this year, last year,
Oh,
regardless. But this is from
was
this
a potential toy. Yeah.
from this current run of World's Finest, and I knew it was going to happen, and sure enough, here it is. So. Next up, though, Dick Grayson becomes Batman with McFarlane's DC Multiverse. We see the thing, the figure right now. You can pre-order it now. It's $22.99. I guess they're calling it Batman Reborn, and that's for September 20. Wait, was this after after Bruce died or whatever the case happened?
Yeah, this was from. Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. But yeah, September 2024.
Yeah, Batman Born era.
Yeah. Next up.
Yeah, it's in the article because this happened during Final Crisis, and then Dick Grayson took over the mantle for a while.
Right.
That was back in 2008-9. Good Lord. Let's see here. Oh,
there you go.
Oh. Panel reveals, folks. And what I was telling Roddykat and what I was telling at Matt Wang 97, in our pre-production meetings, that this was probably my favorite announcement of San Diego Comic-Con. RDJ, great. The MCU stuff, fine. Guess what we're getting, folks? We're getting a ROM Space Knight Marvel Legends, an official licensed ROM Space Knight Marvel Legends figure. But that's not all. We also received news and some more solid announce dates, some more solid release dates and pre-order dates for a Crystal and Lockjaw 2-pack. And that's definitely going to go on my purchase list. We also got word of a exclusive Walmart Quicksilver, which is not going on my shopping list because it's an exclusive and it's at Walmart. But another exclusive for Amazon is a 2-pack featuring Wong, comic book Wong, and Doctor Strange, which has an alternate Dormammu head to show like a possessed Doctor Strange. Now that's actually pretty cool because Wong comes with some cool effects and whatnot. But the kicker, the topper, is that you get a translucent Bats figure in this 2-pack. That makes it a must-buy for me. So that's also going on my list. We also get news of an 80s Punisher War Journal looking Punisher with a Bushwhacker 2-pack. This is probably going to be on my purchase list also because I've always liked the all-black Punisher with just the white skull and the white headband. And the Bushwhacker character is, kind of wacky, but whatever. And we also got some reveals for the movie stuff. We got a new Colossus figure based off of the Deadpool movies. We also got a multi-pack with the Chitauri aliens that you see in the movies, in the MCU movies, so you get to see them and use them as an army builder. We also teased some bits. It's probably an upcoming Spider-Boy figure. That's probably correct speculation. Hasbro seems to be maybe moving a little bit away from the HasLab format with making some of these figures, but now what they're doing is doing it order. Like once you pre-order something, you're getting that figure, but once you miss the pre-order, they're not making anymore. And the first figure they're doing that with is a Dragon Man. So it's going to be at a higher price point, but if you want that, you better order it when the getting is good. And I'm probably going to get it. It looks like a cool figure. And the last figure that they announced at the panel was the ROM Space Knight, and I think I would have absolutely lost my, forgive my language, shit on this. I would have absolutely lost it if I had been present for this panel.
Agent 70 sent me this link, and I was like, yeah, you could just feel it radiating off of him, because it was the first image on the thing. I was like, well, I know what he's excited about. But this is cool because like it just goes along with everything else we had been speculating about, leading up to this. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Von Gloom asks, does that Bushwhacker figure fire projectiles? Doesn't look like it.
Probably not.
Yeah. So, but that's a weird. Well, I mean, if you're gonna do a Punisher villain, I guess that's the one. Anyway, speaking of more Hasbro Legends news, in addition to that last piece, we also got Brown Suit Wolverine, which was also out on display at San Diego, so you can see that if you're watching the video version, along with those other figures that we mentioned.
Yeah, I'm not so keen on the color, the painting, the colors of the paint, but I'll wait for the final version to see if I want to pick this one up. I like, it looks like they've redone the claws again, and we all have a million Wolverines, but we're always looking for that definitive one.
Right. Also, I see Olivia Newton-Dazzler in the back. Did we already have that?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's come out. That version's come out a couple times.
Right. I don't know if I had that one, which I don't know why I would, but actually, I know I do know why I would. If I want the Australian, if I want that era X-Men team.
Right.
So.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, that version came out as a solo card, like a retro card, but also came out with the multi-pack with the Mojo and Longshot.
Gotcha. And there's a bigger, as you can see, another picture of Wolverine and the team right there.
Right. That was a diorama they put up that's supposed to mimic the X-Men video game, because those were the characters in the video game.
Which that's what I forgot to ask Matt about. Did you see in it? Because I know they did have that Marvel vs. Capcom stuff there.
Right. All
but
right.
Anyway,
next up.
Sit up as a Green Goblin. I'm sorry.
I was going to say this is my story. And it's funny that you were joking about the green, about getting dressed up in this. So suit up as Green Goblin with realistic roleplay helmet and electronic pumpkin. So in the latest Marvel Legends replica series, you're getting from No Way Home or the original Spider-Man movie as well, the Green Goblin helmet and the electronic pumpkin bomb as a replica Marvel Legends. I don't think this is going to hit my replica collection. I have what I want, what I always wanted, since I was a kid, and I'm happy to have them. But listen, this is something that, these are things that if you were a kid when this movie first came out in 2000, and that's the Green Goblin and love, maybe this is what you want.
And you want to cosplay him, and
yeah,
and you got that kind of scratch, go for it.
Yep. Do we have prices? Yeah.
Yes.
So the pumpkin bomb is approximately going to be $39.99, and the helmet is going to be, I think I scrolled past it, $124.99.
All right. More power to you on that one. Rest is up to you. And yes, as we said, it's on pre-order today as we were recording this, which is August 1st. Next up, we move away from Marvel Legends into some more crossover figures. Leonardo returns to Eternia, with new Mattel TMNT of Grayskull figure. So there's the figure watching the video version. Let's see. It is stealth armor Leonardo with a turtle shell shield, katanas, and removable hood. And it's set to come out September 2024. It's a 5.5-inch figure with 16 movable joints. Let's see. And looks like there's going to be more of these crossovers coming down the line. And I don't see a... Oh, wait. No, sir. Yes, I do. $20 for this. And looks like there's going to be more stuff like Man-at-Arms, Tila, Krang, Beastman, and from both of those franchises coming down the line. Next up,
Are you folding in this article also?
Sure, I'll do that. Along with that, well, actually, yeah, this is pretty much some of those other figures that we that I just spoke of, including the Evil End that wasn't mentioned, Beastman, and that looks like another He-Man figure. That was also shown at San Diego. This is also the image at the top was Raphael crossover figure with Masters in the Universe with his Sai and armor. And actually, I don't, and Mechanic and some of these other Masters of the Universe folk. Oh wait, actually, is that Donnie? Oh, that's Mike. That's Mikey. So yeah, they got the other turtles in here too, as well as other Masters of the Universe figures. So there you go, folks. Next up.
Wow. Okay. So so shown in this article is a look at the new Super 7 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ultimates Deluxe Wave 1 figures, which were shown at the San Diego Comic-Con Super 7 booth. So these are going to go on sale on August 28th. On National Power Rangers Day, you're getting metallic versions of the black, red, blue, pink, yellow, green, and white Rangers from Super 7. We were just talking about this earlier with Atman Wang 97. Super 7 has gotten these licenses, and they're making some of the figures that people have always wanted, which is kind of that sweet spot for a lot of these adult toy collectors.
Mm-hmm. There was a couple I meant to mention earlier. A couple of their earlier reaction figures I wasn't crazy about, but they've definitely stepped it up since then. And now for my favorite part of this here thing, and some of this will be folded in because there's some overlap. So, as a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and say that I will take the next 1, 2, 3. Yeah, basically because some of this is together. 40th anniversary Expo for Transformers 2024 exclusive. There's a Starscream. There's a Super Mode. There's a Sentinel Prime. There's a Missing Link. I don't know that character, but it's basically a yellow Prime. I think that might be Japanese version. There's a TLEX Starscream. Nemesis Prime. There's a Throne. The Throne from the movie. There is that. There's also some Transformers crossover figures that are going to happen, in addition to Transformers 1 figures that are, of course, coming out. 2 of which include a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover, which is basically Cup as Sergeant Slaughter's vehicle from the movie.
Yeah, I saw this. This is funny.
Mm-hmm. And comes with a Sergeant Slaughter figure, and I think that's a leatherneck.
Yeah, it's definitely a leatherneck.
Mm-hmm. It'll be $90 for all for that whole pack, which is all 3 of those. And there is another one which is also probably going to be on my list. Transformers times Knight Rider figure.
My God, unbelievable!
This one's going to be $50 and is going to be available starting at December 1st. So yeah, it's basically a Transformer that turns into a Pontiac Trans Am, aka Kit. And the name of the Transformer is called Agent Knight. Because you gotta do that. Definitely getting that one. I doubt if it's going to make the sound, and it's probably not going to sound like William Daniel. Let's see. Oh, the Soundwave Ravage. So Zartan and Zarana is going to be. Oh, well, they're talking about deals and stuff, so never mind. But there's some deals also attached to this, including the Ghostbusters Transformer crossover that one of us already has. That's back on sale. And there's a Megatron Baroness. Wait, what? Hold on. Second. Oh, right. Megatron is a his tank and with the Baroness figure. I forgot about that. So yeah, that's on sale, as well as the Ghostbusters ones. So yeah, some stuff. I actually might get that his tank with that Megatron his tank, even though Megatron is a gun. Anyway, next up is next up I also put some a little close-up figures of that Cup figure and the Knight Rider figure in there. So that's just attached to the article. But you can take this next one about the flame torch.
What are we up to? Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure which article I could.
Yeah, I
click.
know. I
Transformers gets new Flame Toys prototype reveal for one of the rarest Autobots. So beyond Hasbro and Takara, there are several other companies that release their takes on familiar robots in disguise from the Transformers franchise. One of these is Flame Toys, which is set to release a new figure based on one of the most unknown Transformers. Revealed at a recent trade show, a prototype for Die Atlas hints at the upcoming release for the exciting finished product. Based on an Autobot from a Transformers anime, this prototype will make the character easier than ever to collect. The toy was only ever previously released in Japan, making it a highly desired item among international Transformers fans. Perhaps due to this Japanese nature, Die Atlas remains a popular character in the country among local fans. Okay, I've never heard of this character because I'm from Brooklyn.
And you've not watched the Transformers anime, so yeah.
All right.
Von Gloom comes with something that said they need to make a Nemesis Prime as Goliath to compete with the Knight Rider theme. And you know what? You could probably use that Nemesis Prime one as that. That would actually be pretty cool. That would be funny. Next up, though, some news that should have been in last week's thing. Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw something else that I didn't mention, but don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Music from the original animated series of the Transformers is now available on streaming services. So Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. The G1 soundtrack was also released on vinyl in 2018, as according to this article, but now it is on. But all 42 tracks are down there or out there for streaming if you so desire to check them out.
Pretty cool.
Yep. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, we're moving into the spillover section.
Mm-hmm.
Over 700 G1 Transformers cartoon model sheets are now online. Wow, courtesy of the Sunbow and Marvel Script Storyboard Archive, we can share for you you can get another great piece of Transformers history with over 700 G1 Transformer cartoon model sheets online for your viewing pleasure and, practice drawing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I will say da-da-da-da-da, because not only was that the G.I. Joe thing, they also put that as a stinger at the end of both of those shows for the Sunbow, with the Sunbow logo. But yeah, I saw this and I thought of Agent 70 when I saw this, but this was just cool stuff to check out, just regardless if you're a fan of the Marvel Sunbow stuff. So, next up. Oh, Von Gloom says now I can blast the touch. You could do that already. It was already out there, sir, but I get you. New previews of Transformers and G.I. Joe projects have been released. So this comes from the official Energon Universe panel at Comic-Con. There was a trailer released during the panel that includes stuff from Robert Kirkman, Daniel Warren Johnson, Joshua Williamson, and Skybound's SVP Sean Makowitz. So, and this is just basically talking about stuff that is, whoa, really? Well, it was bound to happen. So I'm cycling through some covers that are coming up for upcoming issues of said books. You see the Transformers there's one for Void Rivals, which has a G.I. Joe movie staple. And of course, another Void Rivals cover, which I'm not sure if this is a variant cover or the actual cover, but it's probably the actual cover, which shows some other Transformers related stuff. So yeah, there's Hot Rod, Baroness. There's that new character for G.I. Joe, and it kind of has some bites in there for upcoming stuff in that universe. So that I'm looking forward to. But you can check out all of that in the show notes if you so desire. Next up.
All right. So the next article is the Battle for Springfield. Yes.
Yep.
The Battle for Springfield begins in the G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero first look. So this is a first look for issue number 309, naturally written by Larry Hama. This is the continuation of the Real American Hero G.I. Joe comic book. And wow, Paul Pelletier is doing the art on this. So artists Paul Pelletier and Tony Cordos. So that I'm sure this is going to be some solid stuff here because Paul Pelletier is no joke, and it's good to see like solid creators getting a shot to do some of this GI Joe stuff.
Yep, and apparently
This
the
is
issues.
due out August 21st, 32 pages, $3.99.
Yep, and has to do with one of the Snake Eyes. Not
Right.
that, not the original Snake Eyes, but one of them. Although the new ones or the current ones, I don't know. That whole thing's been crazy from.
Yeah, I don't understand any of that stuff. That's beyond me, but okay.
Yeah, I've gotten glimpses of some of it, and it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Next up, though, a lot of cloning in that universe, more than initially. Star Trek's Lower Decks returns in new ongoing comic series. I wish Matt had been around for this, because I know he's a big Lower Decks fan. But this was also announced at San Diego Comic-Con. Ryan North and Derek Charm are the creative team on this book. And let's see. Of course, if you don't know about Star Trek Lower Decks, it is the quite actually amusing animated show that has to do with ensigns and stuff, but hijinks. Let's see. Do we have? There we go. November 13th, 2024. Is when the Star Trek #1 comes out. Star Trek Lower Decks, #1 comes out, and final cutoff is October 7th. So hit it. Next up,
Darren Aronofsky and Frank Miller are launching Abrams Comics series separately. So Abrams Comics has announced new monthly comics on the way from Creative Titans. Darren Aronofsky and Frank Miller set to debut this November. The monthly issue comics officially begin this fall with the release of Human Nature #1 from Darren Aronofsky. Okay.
yeah.
So that's going to be on sale on November 20th, 2024. And the Frank Miller book is Pandora.
Yes.
Right. And it's continuing, so it's number. So we're up to number 7, and that's going to be December 18th, 2024.
Right.
It's in every. It's published bi-monthly. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to think about that pairing word thing, but I'm like, okay, whatever, man. Next up, though, Pacific Rim continues in new official graphic novel series. Russia. Wow, this is a name I hadn't heard in a minute. Written by Joshua Fielkoff, with art by E.J. Sue. The new original graphic novel Pacific Rim Final Breach will feature the likeness of Charlie Hunnam, John Boyega, and Charlie Day to continue the story from the first 2 movies of the series. So I barely remember what happens in either one of those movies. So, okay. Apparently, this graphic novel is heading to Kickstarter for a campaign that launches on that has launched on July the 31st. And it says, according to this article, the link to the project touts it as Pacific Rim 3. So yeah, that is the thing. Next up.
All right, J.M. DeMatteis returns to the D multiverse with 5 new releases. Okay, so back in 2022, comic book writer J.M. DeMatteis launched a new line of comic books through Spellbound Comics dubbed the D Multiverse, by virtue of all 4 titles being written and co-created by the longtime comic book writer. So after the series had a successful crowdfunding, DeMatteis is back for more with a new crowdfunding project for the second issues of the D Multiverse. Okay.
Yep. Good on them. And that, folks, ends the news for us. We're going to go over swiftly into talking about the books since we flipped the order of the show.
Yes, very quickly.
Yes. So we're going to start off with Amazing Spider-Man number 54.
All right, this week, Amazing Spider-Man. I got to scroll all the way back up. This week's Amazing Spider-Man number 54 is written by Zeb Wells with pencils by Ed McGuinness, inks by Mark Farmer, Mark Morales, Wade Vaughn, Grawl Badger, and Ed McGuinness, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we finally get to the end, literally, of this crazy kind of wacky evil spirit of Norman Osborn storyline that Zeb Wells has been penning for very many issues, and we get to the end of it, and Roddykat put it best when he said, "Well, that's it."
Right.
And I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, like things are wrapped up, and even though I guess it does kind of leave a thing out there technically, but still, it just ends. Like you get to the last page, and there's a big fat the end page there.
Right.
So, and we know that Zeb Wells is basically finishing up going to be finishing up his run on the book in the coming months.
Yeah, he's basically wrapping things up.
Right. So there's a one shot coming next issue, and whatever happens after that, leading up to his last issue, which is going to be 950 legacy numbering. Outside of that, I'm glad it's over with, because this, as far as going this issue in itself, there was a lot of back and forth going on, and Agent 70 was like actual back and forth going on that was just like that kind of gotten kind of annoying to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, it ended, and yeah, we're here now. Post this silly story. Actually, the story had some decent points in the beginning, but it just kind of took a
lots
long,
of ups, many downs.
Yeah, it took a while and kind of lingered in a couple of spots, but there you go. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 54. Next up, we're going to go into Ultimate Spider-Man number 7.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 7 is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Cacchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. We get some more kind of background stuff as Peter and this edition of oh my God, what's his name?
Harry Osborn.
Not Norman, but Harry. Yes, Harry Osborn. As they're trying to figure out their place in this world, and they've already been kind of looking into what they can do. Remember, this is a new ultimate version of each of these characters, so we're still exploring and learning about their current situations, how their characters differ from other versions of the characters that we've known. And it's very interesting to see this version of Peter not be so scientifically inclined.
You picked up on that, yeah. That kind of threw me for a second.
Yep. So, we get to see, different versions of Otto Octavius. Obviously, we get to see what in this version of Spider-Man, Ben Parker's still alive. Mm-hmm. And we get to see Ben doing, we get to see what Ben would have been like. And I kind of like this part of the what if more than any other. Mm-hmm. Even with having Mary Jane and having, a family and kids for Peter, I like seeing a version of Ben Parker alive and seeing what he would have been like. Right. I mean, obviously this is very different. He's working as a newspaper man, which is not any sort of Ben Parker that we've gotten before. Right. But it's very fun to see him playing as a not even a foil, but just like as a counterpart to J. Jonah Jameson, and we get to see another character kind of making. I don't think this is the character's first appearance, but it's a nice reappearance.
Correct. Yes, we have seen this character, a long-standing member of the Daily Bugle.
Right.
Yes. Pops back up in this in a way. Von Gloom says, "Why does Robbie look like Giancarlo Esposito?" A little bit, but we do. So we spoke earlier about MCU leanings, and this book has a little bit of it, a good chunk of it, I would say, in the fact of some information that we get about the tech that both Peter and Harry use, which unsurprising for the well, for this universe because we know how it happened, but also for the MCU at large.
Right.
So it's a little too close to that. There was a little fun part about AI that both of them deal with. I think Peter's probably regretting his choice. But overall, yeah, like I said, like Agent 70 said, we've been saying this whole time, Ultimate Spider-Man continues to be pretty good, and you just know that Otto Octavia is going to already go break bad, or already going to go bad at some point with just what he's doing now, even though he's nothing doing anything nefarious. You just know.
Right. And just to kind of piggyback on what Roddykat was just saying about the MCU influence in this series, it makes all the sense in the world that they would that Hickman would incorporate that, because think of it as it's just another form of the origins of Spider-Man, right? Whereas they're able to kind of update the whole sewing your own costume thing by giving him something a little bit more technologically advanced, giving him a little bit more of a one-up on some of these villains that he's going to be encountering. But still, he's got the basic spider powers. Maybe this is what helps counteract the fact that he's not so scientifically inclined.
Maybe.
Right? But this is a different version of Spidey, and we're learning along with everyone else who's reading this how Hickman is going to envision this particular version.
Right, and I guess technically a different version of Harry as well.
Right.
In that, but also,
but we do get the daddy issues. We definitely get the daddy issues.
Yeah,
they're there. It's like that's the whatchamacallit. That's a characteristic inherent in every Harry Osborn in every timeline.
And I'm sure that's not going to be a problem at no point in the series at all.
No, never.
But yeah, potential click of the week for me.
Yes, same, agreed.
And I think that was it. Oh well, we get to behind the scenes shenanigans with the Kingpin and whatever, but we also get to see, let's just say, Ultimate Spider-Man starting to join the larger Ultimates universe in a way.
Right. We kind of circle back to something from the very beginning of this series.
Right. And the Kingpin has a plan that we know of, a group that's coming up clearly from what they say about his plans. And with that, we move on to our next book, which is getting into the Blood Hunt section with Blood Hunt number 5 of 5. This is it, folks.
Yes, it's ending. Blood Hunt number 5 of 5 is written by Jed MacKay, with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia and Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Guess what, folks? This series is not Jed MacKay's. Well, let's just say that it was not just to reintroduce Mark Spector or Moon Knight into the Marvel Universe proper. It definitely was an avenue. It was a vehicle for that, for Jed MacKay doing that. But believe it or not, the end of Blood Hunt number 5 leads us into the next big Marvel kind of event.
Right.
And I was shocked. They caught me off guard. I don't know how Roddykat felt about it, but they definitely caught me off guard with that.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. It did with me. But as I told Agent 70 before the program, don't do what I did. I read the 2 tie-in issues that came out this week. That would be Fantastic Four number 22 and Midnight Suns Blood Hunt number 3 of 3 before I read Blood Hunt 5, which spoiled me on the end of Blood, or a big part of the end of Blood Hunt number 5.
Right.
Also worth noting, Jed MacKay is not only playing with Moon Knight at this point. He's also got the Avengers and Doctor Strange.
Right.
And that all plays a part into coming out of the end of this.
It absolutely does. Absolutely does. We do get some resolution with Blade and the story with God, what's the daughter?
Oh, Bloodline.
bloodline, and we don't get too much with Dracula, but maybe that'll be in future stories. Bottom line, though, is we get to see how Blood Hunt is resolved and how that leads directly into this next story.
Right. And actually, speaking of what Agent 70 just said. So yes, we do get a little bit more on Bloodline, Brielle Brooks. We definitely get some teases and possibly a new status for Miles, and also vampires in general.
They just want to overpower him. Now he's so OP.
He's basically Jubilee at this point.
No, he's OP.
I know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm teasing because I've made this joke with Roddykat before, right? Like where Roddykat says he's now the superior Spider-Man, right? I'm like, no, he's just the OP Spider-Man, because they want to differentiate him so much from Peter and all the other spiders that they want to give him Venom Blast, and then they're going to give him a sword that he can wield that's a Venom Blast, and now they want to do this.
Yeah, and I still don't understand why they needed to do this. That is I guess is the issue that I have with it. Like, yeah, like Agent 70 said, he's kind of already he's got a pretty spectacular, no pun intended, power set. But yeah, I don't know. And to what end is this going to play? I mean, obviously they're probably going to get rid of it at some time, because like I know the whole thing with Jubilee kind of stayed around for a minute, but
I stayed up for a while,
right? And they're making it sound like this might happen with Miles, or at least the rumblings I see. But I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So Miles is basically Miguel now. Von Gloom says, like, yeah, I guess so. And Von Gloom says, I want a Doom action figure with the cloak of levitation. Oh, don't worry, you're probably going to get one.
Yeah.
Do not worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they did the preview of the action figure in this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically. I do love how this is actually what makes it, that part is what made this a potential click of the week for me, because just like Agent 70, I was not expecting how this thing was going to end. Well, let me phrase that. I knew how it was going to end based on what I read with Fantastic Four number 22, but still
how it played out, right?
Yeah. Right. But it still was kind of pretty great the way it played out. I was like, this is going to be something. It's going to be pretty interesting. I hope. It's Jed McKay, so he had a reminder
that I was about to say. I'm glad that you reminded me that McKay also has Strange on his plate, because he's obviously bringing these three books together. You know, like obviously with Blood Hunt being the big event book, but he's bringing Strange and Avengers together.
And actually, now that I think about it, the Stephen Strange thing is still kind of a loose end at this point. But maybe that's going to get taken. That's probably going to get taken care of in Doctor Strange, probably,
right?
If they do whatever they do with that. So, but yeah, that's Blood Hunt number 505. We're with.
What do you mean? Wait, which loose end?
The what's going on with Stephen and his body.
Oh no, it's healed. They did that in the issue before.
I know that, but I'm saying, but they're going to take care
so we'll find out in the next issue.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't know that yet. So, but yeah, so now we're going to get into the tie-ins to Blood Hunt, and I guess we'll go with Fantastic Four number 22 next.
It's written by Ryan North with art by Ivan Fiorelli, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, BC's Joe Caramagna. So this is actually a really fun tie-in to Blood Hunt, because it's still very much a Ryan North Fantastic Four issue. It is centered on like maybe not the entire family at once, but he definitely likes to split up members of the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Four adjacent characters into groups. And this is basically Reed and Alicia, a pairing that we do not get to see very often. And the other group is the rest of the family, because the rest of the family's out in the middle of Arizona.
Yes.
Right. They're out in the middle of Arizona, trying to protect themselves from the effects of Blood Hunt, while Reed and Alicia are in New York, and they're in the bowels of Madison Square Garden trying to defend themselves from vampires who are trying to get to them. And they do figure out how to do things, how to protect themselves. Alicia is very important to this effort, but Reed is not the big brain that solves the big problem, and I'll hand it off to Roddykat with that.
This is true, and that is acknowledged at the end of this book. And as we've just said with Blood Hunt number 5, that kind of gets rectified there. So you put those pieces together. I did love the pairing of Alicia and Reed because she pretty much balanced him out in the way that he kind of needed for this particular thing.
Right.
Because of what he's used to being, his how he's used to being in this book, and with the problems they end up solving. But now he meets up with a problem that he really couldn't solve, the way he normally would.
Right. Right.
So.
And I hate to say this, that more often than not, especially when you're dealing with like bigger crossovers, once you take Doctor Strange off the table, most of the Marvel characters don't know how to deal with this stuff. Right? Because normally, if there was a big group and Reed is like, well, I don't know how to deal with this, Doctor Strange would say, excuse me, I know how to deal with this because this is magic.
And there are other magic users that are capable, just they're not Sorcerer Supreme, so they only know.
Exactly, right. So bottom line is, like he would be the lead character on a story like this, but obviously McKay took him off the table and, pushed things forward the way he had to tell the story he wanted to tell.
Right.
All right.
And the end of Fantastic Four, like I said, the end of Fantastic Four number 22 pretty much capitalizes on the end of Blood Hunt number 5 in a pretty good way, because it also kind of feels like the end of a Spider-Man movie, or the more current Spider-Man movies in the way it ends, which was kind of funny. All right, folks. Next up, we got Midnight Suns Blood Hunt number 3 of 3.
It's written by Brian Hill with art by Herman Peralta, colors by Arthur Hesley, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So yeah, it's a tie-in. It does what it does. It takes care of a few things. So surprisingly, though, the epilogue deals with what happens to Blade. So that's one reason to pick this up. But ultimately, this is kind of like at least in my opinion, a pretty inconsequential tie-in.
Yeah, but we kind of knew going into it, because we figured, well, Midnight Sun's going to be involved. There's the possibility that they were going to be more involved with the main story than they were, but that didn't happen, and it kind of felt that way that they weren't, because they were like sidelined with the side quest here, and I kind of figured that's what it was. But yeah, I kind of agree with it. Was decent for what it was, but yeah, it didn't necessarily have to happen. And what happens at the end of this book probably could have been an epilogue on Blood Hunt number 5, which I'm kind of surprised it wasn't, honestly. But we also know that there's going to be a Blade miniseries coming up, also written by Brian Hill. So this is that's pretty much leading into this. Leading into that.
Right. That makes sense.
Von Gloom says it's weird that Dr. Voodoo, who was a former Sorcerer Supreme, couldn't be consulted. He was taken out of school. The Doctor Strange Blood Hunt tie-in makes the Strange decision kind of jacked up. Yeah, kind of. And talking about Kashala could have also been basically bringing up other Sorcerer Supreme who could have been consulted. Yeah, true, but they were inconsequential. So Magic had her own one shot, so they weren't really fooling with that. They had it centered for whatever reason why they had it. And I believe that ends all of the books that we have in common. Rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire time, folks. Rapid fire reviews.
I ain't got time to bleed.
If you thought we were going quickly before. First up for me is Captain Marvel number 10. It's written by Alyssa Moy with pencils by Ruairi Coleman, inks by Ruairi Coleman and Roberto Poggi, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. This is the last issue of this particular volume of Captain Marvel. It ends on a pretty warm note with tying up some loose ends, with these new characters getting to know each other, with Carol kind of reestablishing the Marvel version of the Marvel family, but with one notable exception. That is one character kind of going off on his own because he doesn't feel necessarily welcome or feel like feels like he belongs. And when I say he, that's a pretty big spoiler. Next up is Immortal Thor number 13. It's written by Al Ewing with art by Jan Basil-Dua, or Jan Basil-Dua, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. No surprise, this is a strong candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. Hercules is a guest star in this issue, and it definitely touches upon recent happenings in the pages of Thor and helps to carry the story forward while also circling back to some things that have happened to Hercules in the past, several years of Hercules related stories. Super strong, lots of great character work here, and it's just a great read. Definitely recommended. Next up is a Ms. Marvel Annual number 1. It's written by Iman Vellani and Sabir Pirzada, art by Giada Belviso, colors by Yen Nitro, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So I have been reading some of these Infinity Watch annual tie-ins. Not all of them, but I specifically read this one because, one, it's a Ms. Marvel. I try to read the Ms. Marvel things. Two, it's written by Iman Vellani and Sabir Pirzada, who we know have been writing the recent Ms. Marvel limited series. So I had a feeling there would be a lot of Ms. Marvel stuff in here that I would want to read, and they would find a way to tie in some of this Infinity Watch stuff into the story, and that's exactly what we got. And I appreciated that. We did not need too much. We definitely got a lot of this Infinity Watch stuff, but we didn't need it to be like the main driver of the story. In fact, we get a lot of Ms. Marvel supporting characters as well as Kamala Khan in this issue, and some developments related to their I guess rogues gallery is one way to put it. So that's the reason why I read it, and it was actually pretty fun. Next up is Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider number 3. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Federica Manson and Paolo Villanelli, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. I like what they're doing with Spider-Gwen right now. It's still kind of weird that they're trying to integrate her into the 616 kind of, very suddenly, and having her go cold turkey, as it were, on her old universe. We still don't know how this is all going to play out. We do know that Ouroboros, aka OB, is involved with this, but it's still fun. I'm always a sucker for Spider-Gwen stories that are told well, and so far so good. And last for me is X-Force number 1. It's written by Jeffrey Thorne with art by Marcus Toe, colors by Eric Arciniega, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. X-Force number 1 is the first issue with the Forge-led X-Force team. And this shows the origin of how this team gets together and why Forge is at the helm. And Forge is, it's very interesting. I was telling Roddykat this before in our pre-production meeting, one of our pre-production meetings. It turns out we had two when at Matt Wang 97 came on. But in our first pre-production meeting, I mentioned that they have Forge, there's a focus on Forge here, and virtually every character but one is from that's on this roster of X-Force is from the Claremont era of a particular era of a Claremont X-Men. And I remember when Forge was a huge part of the Claremont X-Men. Not just the team necessarily, but the story. And it was interesting to see Forge take a big step forward into the spotlight in this issue, and to see which other characters are going to make up the supporting cast or the rest of the team of X-Force. It's not necessarily the Wetworks team that we're used to seeing, but we don't know, if that's going to last. So we'll see. And that's it for me.
I need you to cue up the Gotcha Man soundbite for me, please, because we'll start off. My book is Gotcha Man number 2. by Cullen Bunn, art by Chris Batista, colors by Carlos Lopez, and letters by Buddy Badoin, I guess. Uh, yeah, but basically this takes place after the last issue, obviously, because that kind of left not necessarily a cliffhanger, but they were still kind of in the midst of what their current mission. I know Agent 7 is going to catch up with this at some point, so at some point, so I'm not going to spoil it for him. But basically, it continues on with that, and we do get some slight shades of a thing that's kind of been probably teased in the first issue and the pre-comic book day with at least a member of that other Gotcha Man group, the B team, as it were. And there we go. And last for myself, and actually, Von Gloom says, they also let us know what's up with Herc and Novar talking about Immortal Thor. So yeah.
Right.
Final Fight number 1 of 4, apparently. Story by Matt Moylan, art by Matthew Weldon, colors by Espen Grundigen, and letters by Marshall Dillon, which every time I hear that name, I keep thinking of Gunsmoke. So yeah, Final Fight. It's a comic book based on the game, which folks, you youngers might not know. See, we used to have these things called arcades, and they had these things called video games you could play and stuff. A lot of folks might know what Final Fight is, especially in relation to Street Fighter and that whole universe. But if you didn't, this book in the beginning kind of gives you a little bit of a catch up, or at least it gives you pretty much the same thing that the game would have given you at the start, but just kind of goes from there with what's going on. Mayor Mike Haggar, his daughter gets kidnapped. They go after the Mad Gear gang. That kind of stuff. This is not necessarily a spoiler because hey, this is probably a 30-year-old video game at this point or something. But yeah, this kind of starts there and then kind of continues to go. And actually, I think now that I think about it, they're still kind of in the past, if I'm not mistaken, because they started out with a flashback, and I think that's where we still are into how things started, and get to a certain place at the end of this issue, which I enjoyed because they didn't go heavy with like arcade reference, but there's a couple of little references here and there, especially one at the beginning, which they had to kind of get it out of the way. That is kind of a literal reference, but for the most part, it was pretty good. I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of these issues. And this was put out by Udon because I know not Age 70. Von Gloom had wondered about whether Udon was still putting stuff out or doing anything. But yeah, this is from Udon. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
All righty, Kliqs of the week.
Gotta say, despite the fact that Marvel having the most books out this week and not many other companies did because it's fifth week and and probably also Comic-Con probably had some also do with it. Not a lot came out this week, but Marvel still had a pretty decent showing. That being said, there's some good stuff.
Yeah, I could tell you what my candidates are. So my candidates are Ultimate Spider-Man number 7 and Immortal Thor. Blood Hunt, like you said, was surprisingly fun because of the shock of the ending. So I'm still gonna go with my gut and go with Immortal Thor number 13 because this was just a really well written, well drawn, well paced issue. But the other two books I mentioned were really strong this week, and FF was really good too.
Exactly, which was in my pack. Yeah, FF, Ultimate, which both consistently good books anyway. So Blood Hunt, I think that was it. Oh, I mean, Gotcha Man and Final Fight were with like the Final Fight kind of hit that nostalgia. Actually, I almost fired up Final Fight right after I read that book to play the actual game. Yeah,
That's funny.
I told you, Van Gloom. Yeah, Udon's still around and kicking, doing stuff. Matter of fact, in the back of the book, they have not previews, but they have images of stuff they have going out now, including the swimsuit edition for Street Fighter, which came out like a couple of weeks ago or whatever the case may be, and other stuff they got coming out. But my pick is actually probably, man, I would almost do a 1-2 with Blood Hunt and Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm just going to leave it to Blood Hunt, number 5 of 5, actually.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that joint hit. I was like, okay, this is going to be, I'm hoping this is going to be good. Like Jed McKay, like I said earlier, Jed McKay hadn't let us down yet.
Right.
And I don't suspect that's going to happen anytime soon. So, and yes, swimsuit editions for those things still exist. So that is my. Actually, let me put it up while I'm sitting. I'll put the red band cover up. There you go. Of Blood Hunt number 505, and that, folks. No, we did not talk about the Kaepernick thing. I'll say I'm saving that one for next week when I find a good article on it. That's a whole stupidity right in itself. But to learn about what it is, tune in to next week, folks, if you haven't already caught wind of that mess. But right now, we're going to get into our last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night. Come on, folks. We've been at this. It was a big San Diego Comic-Con show. The only reason why we're finishing in somewhat record time is because we started speaking very quickly. Mm-hmm. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us. Then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that is it. This is a long enough show. I don't know what else you want from us. We gave you show. You wanted show. We gave you show, and listen, we did warn you.
A lot of topics today.
Yeah, we did warn you last week and the last couple of weeks that the week after Comic-Con is usually a big week because of stuff, and there's going to be more stuff coming out, and there's still stuff coming out from the show,
right,
and about. So, yeah, buckle up. Buckle up. We got the brunt of it. But yeah, there we go. But yeah, we'll be back next week. So, nothing's going on. We will definitely be talking about Batman Cape Crusader because I don't think we talked about that. Well, we mentioned it earlier, but we didn't talk about it. So, because it just dropped today. Thank you for
today.
Yes, thanks to Agent 70 for letting me know about that because I damn sure didn't know about it, and I have seen some good word about it already, and I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Right, it's 10 episodes. I pulled it up on my Prime Video, this afternoon, and I was like, "Oh, 10 episodes." I messaged Roddykat and said, "There's no way either of us are getting to this 10 episodes now with this many books to read, and now with that much news to talk about." So we will try to recap our thoughts on Batman Cape Crusader next week.
Although I almost watched an episode right after you showed me that, I did fire it up to put it on my to watch
on your list.
Yeah, but I almost watched an episode. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna get started because I probably will sit there and binge about 3 or 4 of them. So, maybe me and benches. That's a lie. But at least a couple of them. So, but yeah, we'll talk about that next week. Looking forward to it. And with that, folks, I am Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerdNeat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Friend of the show, Matt Wang 97. We're always happy to have him here. You can find him at Matt Wang 97 on Twitter, probably Instagram too, but I don't know. Just stick to the Twitter, I guess. Actually, wait, did he even use Twitter? I know he's on Instagram a little bit, but sometimes.
It's a good question. It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. But there you go. He's out there. You can find this here podcast. That's what, and also you saw why we call him the hardest working man in the biz. But you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, the CSPN.US.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. So, you know what? People find our show through those reviews.
Indeed. You can find us here mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when we are on live.
Yep. Shout out to our man Von Gloom, who joins us in the YouTube chat, giving us some of his insights and commentary. We appreciate you. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.